welcome back to another eccentric,
Glorious.
glorious. There we go. Welcome back to another glorious episode of the Oversharon Show. You got to, when you say glorious, you got to be like, glorious
Glorious.
episode of the Oversharon Show, the best darn show anywhere on the internet, in all places. Maybe the
At all
moon.
times and spaces,
Whoops, it's
dare
playing.
I say.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's funny that reminded me there's this show, it's called The Righteous Gemstones, and Danny McBride's in it. He's the same guy that was in Eastbound and Down and a bunch of other movies, and John Goodman's in it. And it's about a family, excuse me, a family who's like super star preachers, and they have like a mega church. It is so hilarious. I was got to tell you about that.
What's
So
it
before
called
I forget,
again?
it's called The Righteous Gemstones. I think it's on HBO. It's
Okay.
hilarious. But anyway,
I'll have to look for it.
yeah, this is like we're doing a commercial. And go to more, don't check out that TV show. Go to More Laws, More Problems instead. Check out our content. Go to the click on the Oversharing tab, and there's great ways to support us there. But anyway, let's read today's quote. And yeah, I was gonna mention that show earlier, but when we were talking before, but I totally forgot. So good though. All right, here we
How
go.
far are
Today's
you into it? Sorry. Go ahead.
just like 2 episodes maybe. It must be obvious that there is a contradiction in wanting to be perfectly secure in a universe whose very nature is momentariness and fluidity. And that is by Alan Watts.
I was going to say, that word momentariness is kind of, I don't know that that's the right grammatical term there, but
Yeah,
he
I
was
know.
probably searching for a word when he said it
Yeah,
and that came
like
out. But yeah, I totally get it.
momentariness. Him and Ram Dass would also do that a lot too with words. They'd be like the essence ness or whatever,
That's
like
funny. Yeah, I've been listening. I finished up the Experiments in Truth
oh
Audible,
yeah.
and it was good. And I had it already started back up on the other one that we listened to. I always forget the name of it. Love, Service, and Devotion,
Oh
something.
yeah. Yep.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's the Bhagavad Gita one. I almost said Tao. Well,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I'm gonna start. I think I'm gonna try to start reading the Bhagavad Gita again. I listened to the audiobook before, but this time I think I'm gonna try to read it.
it's a good idea.
Ooh.
Ooh.
This I Ching card is number 30. It says clinging like fire, fire above and fire below. And trying not to get any little reflections here.
Ooh, look at the chat. Is a bunch of people. What's up, Tony? What's up, Spoons? Quiet Sparky Bear. What's going on?
Yeah, hello. Sorry, I can't type right now, but hello, guys.
No worries. Isn't it Jones?
Indeed. Well, clinging like fire, fire above, fire below. Flames hang on to their fuel in order to keep the fire burning. Likewise, in the human world, everything that radiates light or love is dependent upon something else. Through the webs of our interdependence, we see that everything is related, each thing to the other. Awareness of your attachment to other people is the key that opens the door to knowing your true place in the world. No human is an island. Fire is also a symbol of liberation, crackling molecules that fly away from home. Paradoxically, by clinging to what is natural and appropriate, we gain inner freedom. Given perseverance on your part, this reading indicates success. In spite of challenges, cling to what is luminous in yourself, in others, and in life itself, never forgetting your positive attachment to the highest good. When events seem foreboding or people seem oppressive, remember the good that has been and is yet to be. Holding to this idea is to cling to the power of light, the only force that can illuminate darkness. I like that because it's kind of like gratitude without saying gratitude. or it's like find the silver lining, right?
Yeah, exactly. I was just checking out the chat.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
Zero
knew
Lab.
you
What's
weren't
on
really
Zero
paying
Lab?
attention,
No,
but
I was
anyway.
I was definitely listening. I like that. I love it. So so true. And you know, the success that they talk about. Well, here I am. I just haven't on you. Hi everybody, I'm back. The success that they talk about. I feel like any of these cards or even any tarot card that you pull could be applicable to you in any moment. I mean, you
Of
could have
course.
success, right, for any kind of success. I think it really just comes down to like the belief that you can
Oh
do it,
yeah.
right?
Power of belief for
We
sure.
haven't talked about that in a while. That was one of the major oversharing tenets, if you will, tenets that
Yeah.
right?
Oh,
The whole
like the power of belief.
yeah.
Yeah, I should make a list of more, you know.
Extras. There was
In
another
addition to
like in the movie, the Mel Brooks movie where Moses came down from the mountain and he had like three tablets and he's like, there are 15 commandments, and it's like 10 because he drops one and it breaks.
one of
And
them that had
then,
five more.
yeah, 10 commandments. Got the name of that movie.
Oh, that's funny. Well, that's
Yeah,
why we called it top 10 because then we could always add more, I would say.
exactly. Quiet Sparky says Sparky is a nickname for an electrician. I am an unassuming electrician, hence the name Quiet. I like it. Quiet Sparky Bear. Are you still an own bear? I don't know. That doesn't really matter around here. I mean, if he wants to answer, but we accept all creeds and walks, not all colors though. If you're green, we don't want you watching our show. Get out of here, you green bastard. I'm
You
trying to,
green alien.
yeah, you pee. I'm trying to think of something. I'll think of something. A racial slur for a green person.
Oh my lord. A
No,
green bean.
yeah, you freaking green bean, get out of here, green beaner. No, we
Green beaner.
green people are good too. Yeah.
Um,
So I just want to let everyone know also that on March 21st, right? That's the date. There will be no oversharing, but there will be a special Brandon Bonanza with returning guest Joe P and our mutual friend Jeff that also lives in Germany. And he is also an INTP. So we had that discussion yesterday, actually. So you guys will see it on Thursday, March 21st. And check that out. We'll probably do it during the day sometime. I'll see what's good for them. And we will premiere it here. But it was a really good discussion. We kept it around 2 hours or under 2 hours, I think. Definitely under 2 hours. Yeah, I think you guys will love it. So check that out just in a couple of weeks from today. It's already March 7th. Wow.
wow. Indeed.
Yeah, I hear you, Tony. I'm the same way. He says I'm cool with a bunch of bears nowadays. Yeah, I mean, I'm cool with everybody. Like I'm a capybara,
The
so
capybara.
nobody knows who I do. I still watch Owen? Do I not like him? Do I like Mark Passio or do I like Archaics? I don't know. You know, like
James True.
James Drew. Yeah, like all these guys have really good knowledge. I feel like the problem is just with the viewer when they start to just get too attached. I think that's all, you know. But you could, man, you know, like you can get something from everybody. And you know, I got a lot out of Owen over the past couple of years. So I mean, you know, what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
Hit it. I'm a
I
capybara.
I
No, you
I
know.
I, uh I concur with what you said about like putting someone on a pedestal, you know?
Oh yeah,
And
that's yeah.
it's like if you do that, they're gonna fall. They just so and people who put themselves on a pedestal, I mean, why are you putting someone on a pedestal who puts themselves on a pedestal? You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I
Like
think you're well, what I was gonna say is like you don't do people favors when you put them on a pedestal because and it's funny because
we did
uh
not plan on talking about this, but go
in the
ahead.
past couple of years I've been yeah, no, I've been just like going crazy with audiobooks. First I started with like Lord of the Rings, you know, people that have been listening for since the beginning, they all know, but people that are new, I've been like nerding out over Lord of the Rings, the Silmarillion, the Hobbit, all the Lord of the Rings stuff, and then I got into
Dune,
Dune and I into everything
Wheel of
Dune. There was
Time.
like the prequels, you know, all the original Frank Herbert stuff, and then his son stuff. And then I got into Wheel Time exactly, and I just finished Wheel of Time for the second time, and I'm back looking through the Dune things, just checking some stuff out. But what I've learned in all these books is it's just all there. They just don't tell you. They just show you stories of people being put on pedestals or all the stuff that we talk about. I mean, all the behavior stuff, the free will, like how are you going to feel about something when it happens, like fear. I mean, Dune is a huge one with the litany against fear, right? And I just see it there, and then I can also see it here in the real quote unquote world, whatever that means. That uh, these some of these movements start, or whatever they are, groups or associations or whatever the heck they are in the beginning, and they're really awesome. But then after a while, sometimes they just get a little crazy. But it's cool. Like I said, I don't judge anybody, man. Like I would hang out with anybody mostly.
Mhm.
Like hanging out with the devil, like yo. But anyway,
Like the
I think people
capybara with
watch
the
the show now.
alligator or the crocodile or whatever it is.
Yeah, yeah, I'll be riding alligators back. Like, yeah, because we're all just doing our best, man. Like we're all just walking each other home. Like Ram Dass said, we're all just walking each other home. We're doing our best, and I feel like we talked about this on the show too with Joe P and Jeff. So make sure you guys check that out. It's going to be a brand of Bonanza. Um, on the 21st of March. I'll say that again. But we talked about a lot of that stuff with, like the stages of waking up. You wake up and you're mad at everybody, you want to blame everybody. And then you could get to a stage where you're just like, oh, it's kind of just all perfect. Like people are reacting from their own worldview. And, who am I to tell them that they're wrong? Right.
Yeah, that reminds me a little bit of an audiobook I'm listening to right now, which I'm listening to a lot of audiobooks on and off. So whatever I feel like listening to, I just click on it and play. But it's called Living the Law of One 101. And it's by Carla Ruckert. I don't know how to say her name, so I'm just hoping I pronounced it correctly. But she's the one who channeled Ra in the 1980s for the Law of One. And in this book, she's talking about how, let's say you have this landlord who basically he's your catalyst for like change, right? You can use him as a catalyst because if let's say he's just, not helping you out, you've told him that something's broken and he still won't fix it and he's being cheap and he's being whatever, right? You can choose to be angry about it. And every time you see him, you can be annoyed and upset and bothered. But if you can turn that around and look at him as, um, look at what he's doing as a part of you and what you're doing, and say, like, even though I don't do that behavior, right? It's still part of me because I may have done something like that in the past, or I may have been tempted to do something like that in the past, to like
Totally.
lie or cheat someone or whatever, right? So once you can do that, she didn't say I don't think she said the word compassion, but um basically it like brings up this compassion for not only yourself because you could be that way, but then for the other person too. And then if you look at it that way, then you won't see that person and be like, oh, I can't stand that person, because now you comprehend that we're all like each other, and we can all have those little aspects, or even in our past, and we can acknowledge that and look at it with that light of compassion. At least that's how I would say it. So that's what
Yeah.
it reminds me, what you said.
Yeah, 100%. And then I'll say one more thing. We can get into this. I feel like whenever somebody is telling you to not listen to somebody, Owen's a grifter or Archaics is a fucking whatever, or, James True is this, or Brandon Bonanza's fucking a giant and he's handsome and look at his hair. No, I'm just kidding. But no, whenever someone's trying to tell me that, you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of back in the day when I
When
wanted to
you're
buy a rap album and they wouldn't give me the ones with the dirty lyrics on it because they thought I couldn't handle it. It's like, listen, these people are out there, they have a following, they're killing it out there, they're crushing. Who are you to say that they can't? You're not God. You know what I mean? Like, are you the one? Because the thing is, even if some of these people are evil or whatever and it's bad, I don't think it's up to us to make that decision. Like, other people are adults, they could figure it out for themselves. Like, I feel like that's how you
Right.
should kind of look at it, right? And then also look at all the positive things. Like, if you ever interacted with one of these communities and now you don't interact with them and you're upset at the community or whatever, think about how much stuff you got out of that. Like, even the friends you have now, like, you wouldn't have met these people, you might not have got through 2021 or whatever, so it's like, we just all go along, man, and but I get it. I understand why some people get upset. I'm not trying to invalidate their feelings and stuff like that, but that's what I'm saying. It just reminds me of, like, oh, you shouldn't do this because it's bad. It's like, well, you don't think I could figure it out on my own, man? What
Yeah.
do you say? No, but
Yeah.
I just to play a little devil's advocate, right?
Yeah. And I always tell people, like, don't do something that you don't want to do, and go toward the things that interest you and call to you. And if you have a call to go look into something, go look into it.
Yeah,
I mean,
100%.
that's how we learn, that's how we experience, that's how we grow. Um, had I not experienced the things I did the last several years, I wouldn't know Brandon. I wouldn't know Cody. I wouldn't know Spoons. I wouldn't know a lot of people. I wouldn't know all you guys. I wouldn't be on this show. Can you imagine that? No Oversharing show?
Can
My
you imagine a universe with no oversharing show? It must be hell. I love that we just are the same about, like, fake boasting about our show. It's great. I mean,
God.
show is awesome. That's not fake, but yeah, we're not really that stuck up. But it's great, I think, because so many people are like fake humble because of not fake humble in like a disingenuous way, but they're just humble because they have like a little voice inside their head that tells them they're terrible, right? So they don't want to, like, brag about their own stuff, I guess you could say. Does that make sense? Um, yeah, so but we're just like, no, we're awesome. If you don't like it, it's fine, just go. But anyway, yeah, I just wanted to, yeah, we're always like talking about stuff like that. I think it just because it affects so many people we know, and that's how a lot of us met, was through these internet communities. And then it seemed like 2022 was just like this big divide. Like, I think the real world went back to quote unquote normal or whatever, or normalized to what it is now. So it was okay to, like, go out again and have like real friends. And so I think it just, I don't know.
It
But
created a schism, but it's okay. It's
yeah, I'm happy though. I mean, all
people
the
are
people in the
healing.
chat, I've met Spoons in real life, like you were saying, Zerlath, obviously, Quiet Sparky Bear,
Yeah. I
P. I
know
mean,
Tony Coriolis.
yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
That's why, yeah, see, people do it with
And the
music
people
artists
I mean,
too.
everyone you just mentioned too.
Yeah, the chat's great. He goes, people do it with music artists too.
Yeah. They do it with everything. They think they can tell you what to do with your life. It's like, again,
Yeah, and
dude.
Algo says that is very high attitude concept of spirituality, Sharon, and I think it is good way to transport us further as a group. Yeah, and again, we always say this too, but we're not like saying we're spiritual masters and you should just fucking be okay with Owen if he, I don't know, whatever he did. I don't want to just like randomly say something, but or
Did something to you in particular that upset you or was
yeah,
bad
we're
for
not
you.
invalidating that. I get it. But no, that's, you're right. And then he says the hard part for me is when they actually do damage to others. Yeah, no, I get it. That
Yeah.
sucks. But we look at it again from the spiritual lens. So on the physical, you could say, yeah, that's bad, that's evil. But on the spiritual, you could say, well, I don't know the grand plan of the universe. And maybe the
Exactly.
person who was hurt by Owen or James or whatever, they needed that, because we're just all bouncing around, man. We
Yeah.
have no idea.
And
So,
again, using the
but thank you.
things in your life for
Okay.
catalyst. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say thank you, Algo. I appreciate that your point of view on that 100%, because I don't even know. I guess we've ranted about this long enough, but yeah, 100%. And that's the thing, we're oversharing. We're just like, yo, come chill with us.
Aw, yay.
We've been
Dissident
at
Jones. Dissident Jones says it's his favorite darn show on the internet.
Yeah, there we go. Exactly. What was I gonna say? What I really love about this little community is how we screen ourselves. Those who don't belong here just get bored and leave on their own. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
they do.
That's the best part.
I totally concur. I like that. They screen themselves. We don't screen them, they screen themselves.
Exactly. And that's why I say it's the best darn show on the internet. I mean, yes, it is, but also if somebody sees that, they might be like, and if they're like, oh, who does this guy think he is? Like, then this isn't for you, because I'm
Yeah.
just silly.
We're not for everyone. We're not.
Yeah.
And
And
that's
shout out to
okay.
Zaralath. We just saw Dune. Zaralath, I went with him and Joe Giuseppe. He's here from Connecticut, not Joe P. We went and saw Dune 2 in IMAX, and I did see Dune 2 with my woman on Saturday, but I went with Zaralath Monday. It was great. Monday morning, I was like dead.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Neat.
Yeah, I
I'll
like to
have
go
to
other times.
I'll have to check it out. So
All right.
well,
Should we get to it?
yeah.
We've been going for 22 minutes. Perfect.
Yeah, 12:44. It was 12:22 when we started. So it's perfect.
Yep. And 222 here in the real time zone. East Coast, everyone gets it. It's the real.
Yeah. It's the real time zone. I get it. It's
No,
the one I have to freaking live by.
yeah.
Cody's on that time zone too from work. So
Yeah, yeah, I could see that. I think because not only New York but Washington D.C. Maybe one day it'll be different. Maybe California will take over. Oh, what am I? Oh, yeah, okay, I forgot it does that. When I share, for some reason, it always brings the quote up instead. Okay, so verse 37. Here we go. We're just going to go through and read these, and I actually remembered to highlight it this time. So we're going to go read them all, and then we're going to go read them and break them down. So reading Stephen Mitchell's version of verse 37 from 1988, the Tao never does anything, yet through it all things are done. If powerful men and women could center themselves in it, the whole world would be transformed by itself in its natural rhythms. People would be content with their simple everyday lives, in harmony and free of desire. When there is no desire, all things are at peace.
and I will read Dwight Goddard entitled Administering the Government. Tao is apparently inactive, Wu Wei, and yet nothing remains undone. If princes and kings desire to keep everything in order, they must first reform themselves. If princes and kings would follow the example of Tao, then all things will reform themselves. If they still desire to change, I would pacify them by the simplicity of the ineffable Tao. This simplicity will end desire, and if desire be absent, there is quietness. All people will of themselves be satisfied.
We got a new person in the chat too. Welcome, what is it, my Sherry? My Sherry Anola Enoleni from Zeralath. Thank you, Zeralath. You're a fan of Zeralath. He's a great dude. He always has tons of content. We shout you out, Zeralath. So make sure you go check out that 321 because we're invite Jeff, the other guy, is me and him, and I can't talk. Let's see. Hang on. We're thinking about having you do a discussion, Zeralath, me and Jeff, who you have not met, but he's very interested in the Havamal and in Norse mythology and stuff. So, and he's kind of new to it. So, anyway, so look out for that, everybody. That should be cool. All right. So, Stan Rosenthal, the version from 1984, The Exercise of Leadership. The way of nature is not contrived, yet nothing which is required is left undone. Observing nature, the wise leader knows this and replaces desire with dispassion, thus saving that energy otherwise spent, which has not been wasted away. The wise leader knows his actions must be without the use of forced energy. He knows that more is still required, for he also knows that he must act without deliberate intent, of having no intention. To act without contrived intent is to act without contriving, and it is the way of nature. Oh, and is the way of nature. And so is the way of the Tao.
Aleister Crowley's version of verse 37, entitled The Right Use of Government. The Tao proceedeth by its own nature, doing nothing. Therefore there is no doing which it comprehendeth not. If kings and princes were to govern in this manner, all things would operate aright by their own motion. If this transmutation were my object, I should call it simplicity. Simplicity hath no name nor purpose. Silently and at ease, all things go well.
Right. Awesome. So I'm going to set this back up, and I just had an epiphany of an idea
I knew
for
you were going to
for
say
an
epiphany.
episode. Oh, you did? Oh.
I've been
I
doing that lately where I know the next word. If I'm watching a movie or something, like I know the next word. It's kind of crazy. But go ahead.
I
Epiphany
think
for a new show.
just an idea for a topic for a show. I think we should do a live show where we have no topic and we just kind of like let the chat guide us a little bit, and we could just kind of like we were doing that discussion in the beginning, but just keep it going for like an hour and a half or something.
Okay.
Just trying to see if you look nervous. She's like sweating. No, I'm just kidding.
Me?
Yeah, no, no
Nah.
time. No, I know. No, you'll be great. It'll be fun. Yeah, I think that'd be really cool. I mean, we had like 15 people in here, 14 now, so
Yeah.
be a fun time. All right, let's go back. We're going to do a little breakdown. Let us know in the chat what you think about that idea if you want to have us do like a free flow discussion with no topic. All right, Stephen Mitchell, 1988. The first part: the Tao never does anything, yet through it, all things are done. I like this because, it's like the Tao itself isn't performing any actions. It's just the way, right? It's just the way it is, man. It's the Tao. It's the natural order. Like if you look outside, I'm looking outside now, there's beautiful forest and there's like birds flying around. That's the Tao, right? That's the way, nature. Like Crow says, remember we should even brought him up, Crow 777. There is no lie in nature, like how dare you, man? All right, man, we're gonna go back to these. I haven't listened to him in a while. All right,
Me
so
either. It's been a very
I really
long
haven't
time.
listened to anybody but audiobooks, honestly. Like,
Yeah,
so just
same
people
here. I
we know.
hardly
Yeah,
listen to any podcasts anymore. It's mostly like every once in a while something will pique my interest and I'm like listening. But yeah, I've been mostly listening to audiobooks or reading books.
yeah. Or just like people I know, or we've had on the show, like Mario from Symbolic Studies had a really cool episode
Yeah,
recently.
that sun one he did. Then he went on with Michelle, his fiance, to do another show about it, which I didn't catch, but
Yeah,
I
I
would
gotta
like
watch
to.
that. Yeah, I like Michelle. She's awesome. All right. You guys get it.
But yes, that's where you were. You did that first. Did you do that first one?
Yep. And I did just the first, read it all, but, or maybe no, okay. So if powerful men and women could center themselves in it, the whole world would be transformed by itself in its natural rhythms. And I think really what this is saying is not that you could save the world by centering yourself in the Tao, like powerful men and women, but it's just that if the powerful men and women just acted according to nature and went along the way that they should, then the whole world would be changed because then everybody would do it because they would see them doing it also. And they'd be like, okay. And again, not that we're trying to change the world here, but I think there's another like meaning behind it, right? Because when people read that, and when I first came across this version and read it, I was like, yeah, we just need powerful men and women to align with the Tao. But what I think he's really saying is like they just have to act according to their own nature, right? Like according to the Tao, according to nature, kind of like according to the golden rule or natural law or whatever, right? If you just lived
Right.
according to the golden rule, we'd be golden.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, should I read the
Yeah,
next one?
do it. Do it.
All right. So, Dwight Goddard, the first part of verse 37, administering the government. Tao is apparently inactive, Wu Wei, and yet nothing remains undone. If princes and kings desire to keep everything in order, they must first reform themselves. If princes and kings would follow the example of Tao, then all things will reform themselves. And like Brandon was saying, this inactivity doesn't mean nothing, you know, that doesn't mean that things don't get done. It's a free flow. It's like a, what is it called? Flow state. It's basically like being in flow state and being living in accordance with nature or the golden rule is that flow state that the Tao is, right? So if princes and kings desire to keep everything in order, they would follow that. And it says they must first reform themselves. So reform yourself by going back to that nature of the law of nature, the law of the golden rule. And if princes and kings would follow the example of the Tao, then all things will reform themselves. Things just end up falling into place and working out, even though they do. But if you're going along with the golden rule, it is in a more peaceful way, right?
Exactly. 100%. And speaking of golden rule, Dissonant Jones says crow urine therapy
Golden
rule. Yeah. No, 100% though. I think you're exactly right. And it's just, there's nothing special to do. You just, live according to nature. All right. I'm going to bring up the other ones. There was something that popped into my own. I'm sure it'll come back. I forgot it, but alrighty. The exercise of leadership. The way of nature is not contrived, yet nothing which is required is left undone. Now, this is that, Stan Rosenthal, very air, like swords energy kind of coming out of this guy. He's always explaining things very scientifically, kind of. So he's like, the way of nature is not contrived, yet nothing which is required is left undone. So there's no plan. There's no like it said in the other verse that you read, there's nothing to do, but everything gets done, right? And I feel like it doesn't mean, like you said, you don't have to do the actions, but when you're doing your dharma, you're actually not really doing anything. You're living according to your nature. That's why no karma gets built up. It's when you're doing these other actions, or when you actually think you're doing something, is when quote unquote karma builds up in that worldview of karma anyway. So going back to back to this verse, it's the same thing. There is no contriving, but everything which is required. So it right there with that word required, it kind of cuts out desires, because it's like the difference between wants and needs, right? So they're talking about needs here. Nothing which is needed is left undone, right? It's just about that stuff. So observing nature, the wise leader knows this. And again, just like crow urine therapy 777. No, he's great. Observing nature, the wise leader knows this and replaces desire with dispassion. Maybe we should look up that word dispassion.
Oh yes, let me look it up.
Yeah.
While you're chatting.
Thus saving that energy otherwise spent, which has not been wasted away. The wise leader knows his actions must be without the use of forced energy. And that's what I'm talking about, without forced energy. It's another way to look at it. It's like you're flowing down the stream, merrily, merrily, merrily. And I think that it is possible to get to a point where everything just flows in your life that way. And it's not that everything that happened is going to be considered good to you. People are, bad things that other people can perceive them as bad or unfortunate things. But I think if you can train yourself, because that's really what it is, man. This is like boot camp, right? You're training yourself, your own awareness, to not react to something that happens, but to think about it first and to say, oh, am I really a victim here? No, I'm not. This sucks, but what can I learn from this, or whatever it is? Any kind of positive spin, or I guess positive spin is the wrong word, or just different way of looking at it, looking for the silver lining or whatever it is. I feel like that is what propels you, and it makes it easier. So it's not like, you're starting to flow down that stream. And I mean, again, maybe every once in a while you're going to have to get out of the river with your boat and walk upstream or fight the current or whatever. It might be rapids, but going with the flow should be like the default position. So instead of things happening, because I see this a lot, and I used to be this way and I still am, but I'm working on it. But when things happen in that moment, I would always be like, all right, how is this affecting me? Whatever, even if I was driving down the street and there's like a car accident that blocked me, somebody could have died in that car accident, but I would have been like, I'm going to be late now, instead of worrying about what's going on up there or whatever, or having compassion for the other drivers. But if you could train yourself to get to a point where you're like, all right, what this thing happened, what can I see? What are the other maybe positive things that came out of it? I have no idea. And this is something Bashir was, the guy, Dana, what's his name? The guy who does Bashir, the
Bashar.
Bashar,
I forgot his name already. Bashir.
Basher, Bashar. There's a
Not
character.
Kabir. Bashar.
Bashir, General Captain Bashir. Tell me. All right.
I forgot his name. I
Anka?
know what you're
Daryl
talking about.
Anka, right?
Yeah, Paul Anka. Daryl.
Yeah, because
Daryl.
Paul Anka,
I
I
said
thought the
Paul
same
Anka.
thing because he's a musician, right? He's like a famous, yeah.
And I don't even know his name because I know it's because Cody talked about him. I didn't even know him before Cody mentioned him. But yes,
Hilarious.
Daryl Anka. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Anywho, yeah, so that's whatever we said. Just do it and listen. You guys get it now.
So dispassion.
Oh, yeah,
Dispassion,
distracted. Yeah, yeah.
it is the state or quality of being unemotional or emotionally uninvolved. So basically what you would think it means. It's just
Perfect.
not getting emotionally involved. And that is key, actually, right? And a lot of things.
Yeah, it is. It's replaced desire with dispassion. So perfectly here, it's like if you have a desire to do something, you replace it with what's the word I'm looking for? The INTPs have this in droves. That's why it's easy for me to do, where I could kind of just turn off
Yeah,
my like
your emotion.
we're just roasting now. Have fun. I forget what it's
Yeah,
called. Anyway, you kind of have
your
no.
your FE, you turn off your FE.
Yeah, 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 exactly.
Your
Flat Earth.
external feeling. What is it?
Extroverted,
Yeah,
extroverted.
extroverted feeling.
Yeah, yeah.
I've been trying to research that because of, we're gonna do our next show.
It's
But
like the opposite of empathy. Apathy, right? Apathy. That's it. I could just have like
apathy,
tons of
apathy.
apathy, but that's really what it is. You just show apathy, and it's like you just don't care, and it's not easy to do. Like if you have some kind of addiction or desire to something, and you just want to like turn it off. But I think that's the key, is to treat it dispassionately. And again, these are things we train ourselves to do, so as they happen in real life, we could deal with it. And the other part is, of course, you're going to screw up and you're going to get mad and things are going to throw you off your course. But when you realize it, the other key is to not get mad at yourself, right? To just be like, all right, I'm doing this, man. I'm doing my best. I had to do that last night. I was sleeping. I was trying to go to sleep in my head. For some reason, my thoughts were racing about all these things. And I must have had kombucha too late or something, or I don't know what it was, and I just said to myself, like, I'm just going to be easy on myself. It's fine that all those things are like that. And it was like peaceful. I was like, all right, we're going to get this done tomorrow. Because, that's the hard thing about insomnia. But I've learned to tell myself, it's like, there's nothing I can do about it now, right? What am I going to do? Just going to have to work on it tomorrow. I used to have way worse insomnia than I do now. It's like I have pretty much zero now. It's great. All right. So yeah, dispassion. Um, and again, you save your energy. It's a great, so true. You're not letting somebody else suck your energy. Like we talk about energy vampires. and conduits for energy, like, Donald J. Trump is a great conduit for all kinds of energy, positive and negative. And if you hate him or love him way too much, or you put him on the pedestal or you put him in the pit, then your energy is going somewhere and you're not the one who's using it, someone else is. So very important about energy and being aware of all this stuff.
Indeed.
But again, it's like the vampire. You can't come into your house unless you invite him in, right? Same kind of thing. You have to invite all this into your own life. All right, you want to read the next one? Oops.
Sure. Okay, so Aleister Crowley's version, the right use of government. The Tao proceedeth by its own nature, doing nothing. Therefore, there is no doing which it comprehends not. So, in other words, there's no doing that it doesn't understand or comprehend. If kings and princes were to govern in this manner, all things would operate aright by their own motion. I feel like his is very similar to Dwight Goddard's. And I
Yeah,
felt like Stan Rosenthal's was similar to Stephen Mitchell's.
yeah. It's funny how that happens sometimes.
Yeah.
And it's the other thing is weird. They were the two that correlate were written around the same time. The way that they.
Yeah. Yeah. Isn't that funny? I didn't even mean to do that when I picked them. Yeah. So, in this one, he's saying the Tao proceeds by its own nature, doing nothing. Therefore, there is no doing. So it does not, there's no concept of doing that it doesn't understand. I get lost sometimes when there's too many don'ts and do, you know what I'm saying? So I'm like trying to
Is that a
figure out what
double
is.
negative? Like you
Yeah.
guys are crossing out the negatives. Sorry.
Yeah. Therefore, there is no doing. So there's no doing that it doesn't comprehend. There's no doing. Can you break that down for me, please? Because I'm having a hard time right now.
Yes, we can do that. Excuse me. All right. So the Tao proceedeth by its own nature, doing nothing. Therefore, there is no doing which it comprehendeth not. So there is basically nothing which it doesn't understand or comprehend. I
So it
was,
understands everything. That's all I
yeah,
needed to know.
yeah,
Therefore, it understands and comprehends everything. I'm just kidding. Every doing. It
yeah.
understands every doing.
All the action in the world, exactly.
Aha.
Bing, the light bulb goes on.
Yes.
And then, that's this part's pretty obvious. We've covered that a bunch. If the kings and princes were governed in this manner, all things would operate all right by their own motion. And again, I want to reiterate the whole thing about the doing, no doing, doing, not doing. It's like if you looked outside, like I said, and you saw birds flying around and squirrels and trees growing, they're not doing anything. They're just living in accordance with their nature. So technically they're not doing anything because it's like what the Tao talks about, where
Yes.
you shouldn't be worried about the outcome of your action. You should just do something and then let it go and forget it. It's the same kind of thing. So if you aren't doing that, if you are worried about the outcomes of your actions, then you are actually doing something.
Oh, wow. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. I love that because it reminds me of the Bible scripture that I love where Jesus tells them, like, the birds in the air, the flowers in the field, they don't clothe themselves, and the birds, they don't feed themselves. I feed them. It's they're not they're just being. That's all they're doing is being,
Yeah, they're not
right?
doing their being.
They're
Yeah.
following their inner guidance. The Basically they're following the Tao.
And to do something, you have to be somebody. And are we really somebody? Yes, we have an ego and we use that to communicate, and it is a very useful tool. But at the end of, there we go, here we go. I'll say it once. At the end of the day, You really, if you believe the way we kind of talk on the Oversharon show, we are all just part of one consciousness. So we are all one having this experience where we're split. So you could say in the physical, yeah, you are doing things, but when you look at that spiritual level, you're not. You're just existing, you're being, you're out there. And
Yeah.
if you want to align your physical life with the spiritual, that's what you start to do. You just start to go with the
And
flow. Dharma, go ahead.
then that involves trust, right? True faith, which is trust, which is an knowing. It's an inner deep knowing, and trust in the divine plan, the plan. Um, if
I could,
we're if we fear where we're going to get our next meal, where we're going to get our next item of clothing, we're not living our dharma. We're not living in the Tao. We're worrying.
and it's so hard to do, but it really comes down to like we talk about with fear. You're just not acting out of fear. And I have a great example in my life. The past 2 weeks, about 3 weeks ago, I was a little concerned with finances because I spent way too money this year in my lovely relationship that I have and just different things or whatever. But I was a little concerned, and early, even before that, I was thinking about maybe getting some kind of part-time job for like a month or something while it's slow. But lo and behold, I got 2 gigs out of nowhere because people got sick. They called me, like, can you cover? And I ended up making like a bunch of money because of this. Like they gave me a really good tip because I filled in on that one. And it was a wedding. And then the other one was just like a firefighters awards banquet, but it was like for a pretty decent sized city. So Senator Blumenthal was there. He's the Connecticut senator, the US senator. So it's just crazy. But and then again, I made some more money. I'm actually gonna check and see if that check came in the mail after this. But yeah, it's really cool that I just didn't worry. And then the little things that I needed got taken care of because of this. So it just overlaps. And then Elizabeth, something similar happened in her life where she just uh got a nice financial bonus or whatever for something. And that's what I was telling her. We were both talking about it. And I was like, listen, if we just, I mean, she's probably in a better financial situation than I am, a washed up comedian DJ. No, I'm just kidding. But that's what I was telling her. I'm like, if we want to make our dreams a reality, we just have to focus on what we want and stay in that positive. And yes, actually, we have to do things and, we have to make plans maybe and like envision some kind of future that we want, whatever. But there's no worrying needed. We don't have to fear and worry about it. Like it's just going to happen and work out. I mean, look at how awesome I am. So I tell her now. So, so that's my testimony to this stuff really does work out for you. And you don't get what you want, but you get what you need, right?
Yes, absolutely. Something else that I thought of when we were talking about the whole animal situation thing, but I've been reading a lot of different books lately, but I've been actually kind of diving into the books about theosophy. And what's very interesting is I'm finding parallels between theosophy and the law of one. And I say this because there's a part where they're talking about the different ways in which I'm just gonna say God because it's like, or source, whatever, that source ends up manifesting itself as material. And the whole like being, you know water or rocks or trees or flowers or whatever, and then being insects or animals, and then right, all the way up till there's a incarnation of being a human instead of being an animal. But anyway, that's just background. What they were saying, what's interesting is I had seen some lady on Instagram say something like this. I think it was Instagram, an older lady, and I don't even know who she was or when she said it, but it was just a clip of her talking about that this like the soul of a being, or like us. I'm just saying the word soul because I don't know which word to use, but let's just say the unique thing that that gives us whatever, the ego or whatever, to be separate, right? To appear separate. That's unique to us, because with animals, it's a group spirit or a group, um, whatever you want to call it. And so they, yes, like it's a group consciousness. And so, like, okay, our power, hopefully our power does not go out, but there's this loud storm. I don't think you can hear it right now because Zoom's really good at, but there's a storm outside. It's pouring, and I just heard a really loud thunder. Anyway, yeah. So,
He's
and
throwing
the
the
lights
thunderbolts
flickered
at
a
you.
little bit, so hopefully the power does not go out.
Oh.
But so anyway, that whole concept was very interesting to me because I feel like it makes sense with the law of one too. You know what I mean? About this group spirit of animals versus the uniqueness of being appear to be separate as humans. Anyway, that was just a little side rant.
It's like an introduction to the physical realm. If you start off as like a rock or whatever, and then moves up. And it's funny because from the internet investigation I've been doing, it looks like a lot of rocks and crystals are former biological material that just got zapped.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
And
Oh,
so
yeah.
a
Like
lot of
when
these
you see
crystal,
that that elephant, I think that's in Spain. It's like a mountain, but it looks like a melted elephant that turned into stone. And then the guy that um I think he was on a couple different shows, but he has his own channel and everything, but he went in through like the cave that's the ear, and he found all the, like in the ear canal, all the things that are like native to an elephant's ear canal. Like he found all
and they
that and
match
all
it
the,
up with the cave. Yeah, it's like a cave,
yeah,
a
yeah,
giant ear canal. Yeah, yeah.
exactly.
I don't know, but so it makes you think, right? It's like even the material in this realm goes into different states. Sometimes it's alive and what we would call alive, and then sometimes it's like petrified wood or whatever. Yep.
Yes,
Give me a
yes,
whole
yes,
new meaning to
absolutely.
all these crystals that we keep around. Oh,
Mhm.
I'm just pondering the orb, everybody. I just sit all here all day and ponder the orb.
Here's one
I
of
have
my
several orbs.
rhodonite.
Oh yeah, Rhodonite. I love it. Oh, it's a heart too.
Yeah, Cody got this for me.
That's right. I remember. Shout out to Cody's in the chat, by the way.
Yeah.
Legend.
So sorry, we went kind of off topic, and we
What
also have a verse 38, which is a little bit longer, but we'll get there in a second. We'll finish this 37 off.
Let's do it. All right, I'm pulling it up. Here we go. Okay. So I think we can go up to the second part now of verse 38. So is it,
37.
oh, sorry, 37. We'll get to 38. Yes, yes. Stephen Mitchell, the second part, people would be content with their simple everyday lives in harmony and free of desire. When there is no desire, all things are at peace. And it really, what they're saying, it's just another way to say just live by your nature. Because if you're living according to your nature, then you're not going to have these crazy desires that we all have in this incarnation, or they're gonna, I'll just say this, the more you start to live toward your dharma or toward your nature, the more of these desires will just fall away from you. But that's where the action comes in, because it does take will. You have to do whatever you have to do, meditate or read or whatever helps you in your shadow work, in your experience. You have to go ahead and do that. Whatever helps you get control of your mind.
Yeah. This the being content with where you're at, in the sense of just being like grateful and everything. Um when I used to work where I used to work, it would drive me nuts to start hearing them talk about making more money and making and like, you know, do raising prices, or you know what I'm saying, like doing stuff like that, marketing, and like that always used to drive me nuts because I'm like, this company makes a lot of money. So why can't they just be okay with that? That's where we're at. Like, you know, why do they have to like,
What are you, some kind of communist, Sharon? No, I'm just
I
kidding.
know.
No, you're right.
Yeah, that used to start driving me nuts. And
Yeah.
maybe that's why I don't work there anymore. Emotionally, mentally, I was like distancing myself from those concepts and ideas already. I was just like, ew, I don't like that. Like it was total greed because it was like we are one of the top of these, companies in the world, and you want more? Like you're already like almost at the top. So can't you just be? But
Yeah,
yeah,
focus on sustaining what you have already instead of looking for more. I think that's why a lot of companies go out
exactly.
of business, they reach sometimes, but that is the problem with what you would call capitalism or any of this stuff, is that there's no end to it. Corporations, their whole reason for existing is to just make as much currency as they can. So yeah, it's really weird, but that's a whole other discussion, everybody. We're not communists, don't worry.
Yeah.
But that's is it in accordance with the golden rule? That's all we have to say. I don't know. But let's go to verse 38,
So let's
or
see.
second part of 37.
37, Dwight Goddard, second
Yeah,
half. If they still desire to change, I would pacify them by the simplicity of the ineffable Tao. This simplicity will end desire. And if desire be absent, there is quietness. All people will of themselves be satisfied. So, yeah.
kind of saying the same thing. One extra thing I would say is the simplicity.
Mm,
So he's introducing this word simplicity here, which is great because, of course, the way is simple, right? Isn't going down a stream like on a tube, like a lazy river, isn't that easy? That's one of the easiest things you could just do.
flow state.
Flow. So it is easy,
Mm.
but it's not easy. It is super hard because of the way we're raised and conditioned, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's all
That's
about
what
breaking.
makes it hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
But
true.
like it claims that this simplicity ends desire. So when you can be content with, you know, the state that you're in, know that it is perfect just as it is, and know that everything is for your good, and even things that appear to be negative at first. Um that will bring a state of peace where you're not constantly having these desires for, oh, well, only if I'm here will I be happy, or only if I get here, or only if I get this physical thing will I be happy.
Exactly. And I've learned throughout my life that's just a fallacy.
Mm-hmm.
Quiet Porky Bear said that's Stellium 7. You shout him out.
Yes,
Stellium 7 is the one. Check
that's
out
the one.
stuff on YouTube. He finds a lot of stones that look like they were probably hearts and now they're
Mm-hmm.
stones in different rivers, and you could go find them too. And his whole thing is like, people are like, well, why would you just find the organs? Why aren't we finding anything else? And he's like, well, if you think about it, if a body was to get zapped or whatever, or to petrify, the outside of it might melt away first. Like it might cook the organs inside. And that's why the organs are the only ones, especially the heart, because it's surrounded in such a crazy, uh,
Pericardium, whatever.
exactly.
Not that I know, because it
It's
just
hard to get to
sounds
the heart, allegedly.
hot, hard to get to the hot.
We hardened our hearts. We have hardened our hearts. Are we good with this one then?
And if desire be absent, there's quietness. Yeah, that's the peace, right?
Mhm.
And all people will of themselves be satisfied. That's right. They'll be satisfied with where they're at and be
It,
okay with it.
it's like a quietness in your mind. That's really what all this is talking about. It's like a spiritual battle between you and your own mind. Yeah, I was listening to Dune a little bit earlier in one of the prequels, and they quote Saint Augustine, and it was like, the mind says to the body to act, and the body acts. The mind says to mind act, and it's met with resistance. Like,
Hmm.
and he was probably what, a Catholic. I mean, this stuff is really is the
Well,
knowledge, right? It's up to us.
well, actually, it's interesting because I recently saw, I think it was because I'm reading so many books, so I don't know, but I think it was in a one of the books I'm reading about theosophy where they're quoting Saint Augustine saying something. So he might have been more of a mystic, but I don't know.
100%. Yeah, I
Like he
think
might have
that's
been
what happened.
prior to the Catholicism, but I'm not sure.
I think, well, I think he was. I mean, we could always look it up, but I think what
Yeah.
happens though is some people, even if they are part of the Catholic, whatever, their message is so strong that the Catholic Church can't just roll them over. So they get behind them and they're like, yeah, look,
They,
this is our guy. He's
yeah,
based.
they made a saint out of him.
Yeah, exactly. We made a saint. So now you should worship St. Augustine and pray to him, right? No, don't worry about what he said. No, you just that was great what he said, but worship him because now he's on your pedestal. It goes right back to what we said at the beginning of the episode. Catholic, somebody say the Catholic Church, oh, it's terrible, the evil, they run the world. Yeah, but you could also look at some of their people who have claimed to maybe have been Catholic throughout the years, and you could get a lot of stuff from them or the Bible or whatever. So it's that same thing. So why should we disparage our Catholic brothers and sisters? I went to Catholic school actually, so
Mhm.
all right, Stan Rosenthal, the second part of verse 37. He knows that more is still required, for he also knows that he must act without deliberate intent of having no intention. It's kind of redundant, I would say, right? Maybe.
A
Let's
little
just
bit.
clarification, though, I guess. This guy really clarifies. To act
Mhm.
without contrived intent is to act without contriving, and the way of nature. And so it's the way of the Tao. This guy just breaks it down. Like he's like,
he's
listen,
intentionally he's intentionally
yeah,
stating it twice in the
with
same
deliberate
sentence.
intent.
Yeah.
So uh I like it because it's like the wise leader, because I think they're still referring up here to the wise leader when they say he down here. He knows that more is still required, for he also knows that he must act without deliberate intent. So there it is again, that doing, not doing. The wise man realizes that there's more to do, but not really without intent. That's deliberate. It's, I think,
Hmm.
oh,
Yeah. He does really, really break it down.
I love it.
But Aleister Crowley says, if this transmutation were my object, wow, he's getting real, real esoteric here. I should call it simplicity. Simplicity hath no name nor purpose. Silently and at ease, all things go well. He doesn't even mention the Tao. He's just being obtuse. I'm
Yeah.
just kidding. But he's just really, really making it esoteric and making you think about it, because I definitely have to think about that.
Yeah. I,
Um,
I love it though, because he's personalizing it here. He's like, if this transmutation were my object, like if I wanted to transmutate, or if I wanted to, and of course he's referring to if kings and princes were to govern this man in this manner. So if this is what he wanted to make as his object, this manner, the Tao, right? I should call it simplicity. So it's simple. Again, it's the way. Simplicity hath no name nor purpose. So same
the
thing,
Tao has no name. It is that which cannot be named.
or purpose. Silently at ease, all things go well. All things flow down the river, right?
That reminds me of Bashar, when he talks about, when people are
Hating
like,
your
well,
excitement.
what should I do? What is my life's purpose? And he tells you, do what you want to do. Do the things that bring you joy, the things that bring you excitement, the thing that makes you go, I want to do that. That's what I want to do. Do that till you're done doing that, until the next thing that says, I want to do that comes up. And then do that.
That's right. Watch the Oversharon show until the next Oversharon episode comes out, and then watch
it calls you. If it calls to you.
It's calling to you now by me telling you to do it. Watch it. Do it. Do it. There's another do it now, because in Dune 2, there's a
no way. Do it
when they use what? Yeah. So.
Oh my gosh, we just watched Starsky and Hutch the other night.
And they do it in Star Wars too, in the prequels, because the Emperor's like, do it.
Oh my God, that's right.
Do it. And then in the way they portray voice, because in the Dune universe, there's this power that the Bene Gesserit, which is the women, have. It's called voice. They can make people do things. And the way that they portray it in the movie, it's like, she's like, do it. And you hear this like, do it. And the person just like goes and does it. Yeah, it's pretty cool. So I saw a meme that was like, showed the Emperor going like, Jessica is saying it. Anyway, Dune nerds, you know how we are.
Yes.
All right. So I think we got a good handle on verse 37. We can move on to, whoa, what's this, everybody? Section day, virtue. Okay. So Sharon informed me earlier, we finished part 1 of the Tao, which is
the Tao. Section Tao.
Section Tao. And now we're into section day.
Which that's why it's called Tao Te Ching, because it's the Tao and the day. And it's like split up into different verses. So the first 37 are the Tao, and the second half is the day.
All right. And it looks like verse 38 is very large. We have 2 parts, right?
Yes. Yes, it is. It's quite a bit. Everybody. So
okay, so I'm going to read Stephen Mitchell, verse 38 from 1988. The master doesn't try to be powerful, thus he is truly powerful. The ordinary man keeps reaching for power, thus he never has enough. The master does nothing, yet he leaves nothing undone. The ordinary man is always doing things, yet many more are left to be done. The kind man does something, yet something remains undone. The just man does something and leaves many things to be done. The moral man does something, and when no one responds, he rolls up his sleeves and uses force. I like that. All right, continuing the same verse from Stephen Mitchell. When the Tao is lost, there is goodness. When goodness is lost, there is morality. When morality is lost, there is ritual. Ritual is the husk of true fate, the beginning of chaos. Therefore, the master concerns himself with the depths and not the surface, with the fruit and not the flower. He has no will of his own. He dwells in reality and lets all illusions go. You get chills. Ooh.
Yeah, this one's good.
I didn't highlight it. I'll highlight it for you, though.
Okay.
How dare me.
All right. Dwight Goddard entitles verse 38, A Discussion About Day. Essential day makes no show of virtue, and therefore it is really virtuous. Inferior virtue never loses sight of itself, and therefore it is no longer virtue. Essential virtue is characterized by lack of self-assertion, wu wei, and therefore is unpretentious. Inferior virtue is acting a part, and thereby is only pretense. Superior benevolence, in a way, is acting, but does not thereby become pretentious. Excessive righteousness is acting and does thereby become pretentious. Excessive propriety is acting, but when no one responds to it, it stretches its arm and enforces obedience. Second half of that. Therefore, when one loses Tao, there is still day. One may lose day and benevolence remains. One may forsake benevolence and still hold to righteousness. One may lose righteousness and propriety remains. Propriety alone reduces loyalty, and good faith to a shadow, and it is the beginning of disorder. Tradition is the mere flower of the Tao, and it has its origin in ignorance. Therefore, the great man of affairs conforms to the spirit and not to external appearance. He goes on to fruitage and does not rest in the show of blossom. He avoids mere propriety and practices true benevolence.
Nice. All right. I'm going to read the Stan Rosenthal version of verse 38 from 1984. The concerns of the great. A truly good man is unaware of the good deeds he performs. Conversely, a foolish man must try continuously to be good. Huh. A good man seems to do a little or naught, yet he leaves nothing undone. A foolish man must always strive whilst leaving much undone. The man who is truly wise and kind leaves nothing to be done. But he who only acts according to his nation's law leaves many things undone. A disciplinarian wanting something done rolls up his sleeves, enforcing it with violence. It may be that goodness still remains even when the natural way is lost, and that kindness still exists when goodness is forgotten. It may be that justice still remains when the people are no longer kind and when this is lost. That ritual still remains. However, ritual may be performed only as an act of faith and may be the beginning of confusion, for every divination and the such
Even,
are oh, every for
even.
for even
It's
confusion,
okay.
for even divination and the such are but the flowery trappings of the Tao and are the beginning of great folly. Wow, I like that. He who is
Mm-hmm.
truly great does not upon the surface dwell, but on what lies beneath. It is said that the fruit is his concern rather than the flower. Each must decide what it might be he seeks. Each must decide what it might be he seeks. The flowery trapping, which comes to summer fullness first, or the fruit which is beneath.
Mm. Wow. Yeah, when I read this one, I was like, whoa, this one's going to
Yeah,
be good.
yeah.
Aleister Crowley, verse 38. Concerning the day, those who possess perfectly the powers, day, did not manifest them, so they preserved them. Those who possessed them imperfectly feared to lose them, and so lost them. The former did nothing, nor had need to do. The latter did and had need to do. Those who possessed benevolence exercised it and had need it. So also was it with them who possessed justice. Those who possessed the conventions displayed them, and when men would not agree, they made ready to fight them. All right, the next
Scrolling down.
slide.
There you go.
And the last bit of this verse. Thus, when the Tao was lost, the magic powers appeared. Then, by successive degradations, came benevolence, justice, convention. Now, convention is the shadow of loyalty and goodwill, and so the herald of disorder. Yea, even understanding is but a blossom of the Tao, and foreshadoweth stupidity. So then, the Tao man holdeth to mass, and avoideth motion. He is attached to the root, not to the flower. He leaveth the one and cleaveth to the other. Yeah, this is an awesome verse. Dissident Jones says, my new favorite verse. What a start to section day. Absolutely.
Yeah, and Tony says that verse 37 on 3:7.
Yeah,
Oh,
blew my mind.
look at that. And I also like here what Joe says, prayer to a saint, because what I was saying, about praying to saints, prayer
Mhm.
to a saint or such makes sense actually to me. And then he said, it's hard to wrap your mind around something like the all or God. You can wrap your mind around a saint as we know what they said and what they did. We know that energy. So you evoke that energy. Yeah, I 100% agree with
That
that.
makes sense.
Yeah, but the way I was saying praying is it's more like, are you praying to them to like solve all your problems and stuff,
Yeah, absolutely.
or are you like looking for clarity and wisdom? Because it's funny you brought up Saint Francis, because the prayer of Saint Francis is amazing. I used to
Saint
like,
Augustine. Saint Francis is.
no, that's what Joe said. Joe in the
Oh,
chat.
Joe said it. Oh, sorry. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So that made me think of the prayer of Saint Francis because um, that's a really good one. I used it like as a mantra when I was meditating for a while. I was doing that. Just kind of keep repeating it over. Like how does it go? We'll look it up later. We got DAOs to break down.
Yes,
So
we have a
speaking,
lot of Tao to break down.
go back up to the top, to the tippity top. All right, I'll share this here and boom. The master doesn't try to be powerful, thus he is truly powerful. There it is about, again, about trying, right? Doing and not doing. So
Mm,
the ordinary man keeps reaching for power, thus he never has enough.
mm,
Master does nothing, yet he leaves nothing undone. The ordinary man is always doing things, yet many more are left to be done.
mm.
I mean,
Wow.
it's
Is
kind
there
of pretty
anything that you can say about that? I mean, go ahead.
well compared, like not really because of what we said before. It just
It speaks for itself.
speaks for itself. It lines up, if I just had this verse to talk about, then I would probably have to break more things down for people. But the kind man does something, yet something remains undone. The just man does something and leaves many things to be done. The moral man does something, and when no one responds, he rolls up his sleeves and uses force. I think this is going to be better broken down in the further verses.
Hmm.
Like for now, I could just say that, it goes back to like what we say all the time. This really reminds me of like the road to hell is paved with good intention.
Oh, yeah.
And I said, maybe I should wait till the episode comes out. But we were an episode I did with Joe. We were talking about. I said something about Gollum. I'm like, Gollum was the hero. I'm like, Frodo was not the hero. Frodo was trying to steal the ring and run away. I'm like, Gollum was the hero of that, and he didn't even mean to be. And I was like, the path to heaven was paved with
Is
bad
paid.
intentions. It was like an opposite. Like Gollum had total bad intentions.
But he was still the hero.
Yeah.
That's
So
funny.
thank you.
Okay. Well, I will read Dwight Goddard's here for breakdown purposes. A
Break it all
discussion
down.
about day. Essential day makes no show of virtue, and therefore it is really virtuous. Inferior virtue never loses sight of itself, and therefore it is no longer virtue. Essential virtue is characterized by lack of self assertion, which is wu wei, basically not doing, and therefore is unpretentious. Inferior virtue is acting a part and thereby is only pretense. So it's funny because the way Stephen Mitchell broke it down is so clear, but like Dwight Goddard is making it a lot more like poetic, I think.
Yeah.
So
100%.
yeah, he's basically saying that a like truly virtuous person or truly virtuous um being or entity um doesn't make show of itself, doesn't have to show off, doesn't have to be like, I'm the virtuous one over here, you guys, look at me, look at me, look at me. um but even though true virtue doesn't lose sight of itself, it is, wait, hold on, sorry, inferior virtue, okay, sorry, inferior virtue will be like myself, me, look at me, right? Never loses sight of itself. And so therefore it is no longer virtue because clearly you have to keep drawing attention to yourself. So that's not very virtuous, right?
Yeah, I like that. Inferior. It's like what you said exactly nails it. That's what I was gonna say. It's like people who are viewing the universe through their lens of their ego only all the time, and they kind of put themselves at the center of everything. And I only know that because I used to do that too. So I get it. But yeah, that's what it is, right? And therefore it's no longer virtuous. It's so funny. And
Mm-hmm.
that essential virtue is characterized by lack of self-assertion. So there it is again. You're taking the I out of it. It's not more about I, it's about uh everything. And it's so funny. I could see easily how this stuff could get stolen and repackaged for new age consumption, because you really have to have the keys or else you look into this stuff. That's why you watch the Over Sharon show. We'll break it down for you, and then you could go do your own. They
Yeah.
need us.
Unpretentious. Like when you're being pretentious, you're like, look at me. That's pretense. It's a false pretense, pretending.
Yeah,
It's all
exactly.
in the word.
It is all in the word.
Inferior virtue is acting a part. Yeah, because when you pretend, you're acting a part. You're
Yep.
playing a part. You're a persona, you know? And so that is pretense. That's pretending.
Pretend.
Playing
Loved
for
it.
pretends. Remember when you're a kid and you're like, for pretends. I forgot about that
Just
phrase.
pretend. We're just gonna pretend we're married real quick. We're just
Just for
pretend.
pretends. Just for pretends.
We're gonna we're gonna play house. Superior benevolence in a way is acting, but does not thereby become pretentious. I
You
like that.
want me to finish reading that? I didn't read that one yet.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Go ahead. I thought you read that. I'm sorry.
Sorry. All right. Superior benevolence in a way is acting, but does not thereby become pretentious. Excessive righteousness is acting and does not thereby become pretentious. I'm going to have to read that again. Excessive propriety is acting, but when no one responds to it, it stretches its arms and enforces obedience. Okay. So starting right there at the top of that part, superior benevolence in a way is acting, but does not thereby become pretentious. Excessive righteousness is acting and does thereby become pretentious. So it's two different words. So superior benevolence versus excessive righteousness. I interpret that in this case as this excessive righteousness is kind of like, well, look at the word self-righteous. That's kind of like, again, like me, look at me. I'm being good. I'm being righteous. So that's basically becomes pretentious, focused on self. But a superior benevolence, it says it in a way it is acting, but it does not thereby become pretentious. I think when he says acting, he probably means doing, because in superior benevolence, you're doing something maybe for someone, but that doesn't bring about a pretense, I
Yeah, it's not
suppose.
false either, right? It's genuine.
Yeah. So it's not fake. It's not false. It's not pretending. All right. So the next part says excessive propriety is acting, but where no one responds to it, it stretches its arms and enforces obedience. So this like excessive propriety, what would that be like? Like, oh, we must be this way or else, everybody do this because otherwise you're not being proper. This is how it must be done because that's what the proper person would do. And so that's kind of acting, right? And
Yeah,
if no one responds to it, then it's like, but you must do this. And it tries to enforce obedience. Um, like when people in your life, maybe let's just use an example of like me when I was younger, and I would laugh really loudly at the, you know, table in a restaurant, and my sister would turn over and tell me, that's not how you should behave. You're drawing attention to us by being too loud, and if I didn't do something about it, she maybe would try to enforce something, maybe like, get angry at me or whatever. Um, that's just an example that I thought of.
You tell her you were just oversharing. I'm just oversharing.
Mhm. Yeah,
You were
yeah.
oversharing even as a
That was
child.
not proper. It was not proper. So,
Yeah, I like that. Propriety is a good way to take the word proper, because I just
mhm,
looked up propriety. It's a conformity to what is socially acceptable in
mhm,
conduct or speech. Yeah, so when you use it in conjunction with that, it's totally acting, right? And when no one responds, they stretch out their arm and enforce obedience. So it
mhm,
reminds me of like it's like my way or the highway, right?
mhm, mhm.
And that reminds me of any kind of society or where you have like even not like our society, you might say not really strict rules, but different groups or whatever that have things that say you must do it this way. Right?
Mhm.
If you don't, they're going to reach out.
Well, the powers that think they be, and thou shalt cover thy smiling face or else, right? That was a thing back in the 2020.
And they reach their arm out to people. Several people try to reach their arm out to enforce it. Right? It's like, all right, guy.
But it was all fake news. It was all fake.
It was all acting. It
It was for pretend, you guys.
was a pretense. We were pretending. We were LARPing.
Yes.
It was a live action role play. All right. Apparently, they relaxed on YouTube with a lot of their things. I've heard this from a couple different
I've
people.
heard that too.
Around November, I think, is when they started to loosen up.
Yeah.
We'll still say cover your smiling face and experimental
Yeah.
medical. It's just fun.
Yeah. I still like it because it's better. It's better that way anyway.
All righty.
But yeah, so the second half of that verse you want to do? Are
Yeah.
you ready to go? Or was there anything else?
Boom. No, I think that's good. So go ahead. Oh, you read. All right.
Oh,
So I'm gonna go down to
yeah,
Stephen,
you're Stephen Mitchell.
or I have to read the first part of Stan Rosenthal, right?
Oh, we wanted to, yeah. Good call.
Okay.
Good
Don't
call.
worry. I get confused.
I know. I've
It's fine. We're on these high, such high concepts. It's hard to go down to the vulgar concepts of Zoom or whatever. No.
thank you. Thank you.
The concerns of the concerns of the great. A truly good man is unaware of the good deeds he performs. This is pretty self-explanatory, I would say, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Conversely, a foolish man must try continuously to be good. I love
Dude,
that.
he's so clear. He's just like clear as
Yeah,
day. Boom. He just tells you.
exactly. A good man. Let me just get my little cursor. A good man seems to do a little or not, yet he leaves nothing undone. A foolish man must always strive whilst leaving much undone. It reminds me of
And
Yoda, right? There is no try. There's only do
only
or do
do.
not. Do do it. There's only do it or don't do it. There is
There
no
is
try.
be. There is be. Because
There is
there's no not to be, because you can't not be. You have to be.
there is
Just be.
non-existence doesn't exist. It's in the
Exactly.
title. That one blows my mind because it's so like logical, right?
Right.
But
Yeah.
it's just well non-existent. It doesn't then if it doesn't exist, then is it even real? Like, okay. I
Right. Like that. Who's the guy?
Pete
Who's
Holmes,
the
the comedian.
Yes, I love that one.
Yeah, he picked up on that really good. It's funny because I
Mhm.
watched a video recently too, and somebody else was saying that. I think it was Paul Anka. No, sorry, Daryl Anka was saying that. The Bashir guy. Bashar. Bashir. Oh, that's what it is. Bashir is he's in Wheel of Time. That's what it is. Yes.
Oh,
He's
okay.
the
No one.
character. Bashir.
Oh my lord.
Lord. All right. So yeah, and then this is pretty
That's
self-explanatory, right?
totally, yeah.
A good man seems to do little or not.
Not
So
is nothing.
nothing, yes. And by seeming, this just means that a good man doesn't it's like when I remember being in church and they would say this like some people will when the collection bowl's coming around they take that crisp $100 bill out and they put it and this was like the 80s so $100 back then was probably like 500 now You'll see a crisp $100 bill. He's like, but that's how you shouldn't do it. If you're gonna give, you just put it in an envelope or send it
Gives-
anonymously. Like you
Yeah.
don't need that recognition or whatever,
Yeah. I
right?
mean, Jesus said that. Don't display your acts in front of men. Like do them behind, you know, closed doors where God sees what you've done. You don't need men. If you're doing it for men, then you'll get your reward, which is men's praise. That's all you'll get.
And I think also, well, I know the Tao also says it too. I don't remember what verse it is, but it does talk about like keep your inner workings a secret, basically. Just let people see the unfinished product,
Mm-hmm.
same kind of thing. All right. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
The
so I
last.
think we get that part. Yeah, I'll read this last part. So the man, hang on, cursor, the man who is truly wise and kind leaves nothing to be done. So it goes back to a good man, same kind of thing, right above it. But he who only acts according to his nation's law leaves many things undone.
Mm, mm,
I
wow.
like that. We should have a t-shirt. A disciplinarian wanting something done rolls up his sleeves, enforcing it with violence.
Mhm.
It may be that goodness still remains even when the natural way is lost. And that reminds me of the road to hell is paved with good intentions, right? There
Mhm.
is still goodness, even when the natural way is lost. And that kindness still exists when goodness is forgotten. So it's like these different levels of
Mhm.
things,
Mhm.
which we're going to get into, I think, in the next verse a little more also, but it talks about like,
Next part of the
wise
verse.
and kind is one level. Hang on, let me just get back to here. So you got wise and kind at one level, and then you got the nation's law, right? And then you got just goodness.
Okay.
So after the disciplinarian, because that kind of goes along with the nation's law thing, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
So the disciplinarian is maybe even lower than that. He still has goodness, and then some of that where the goodness is lost, or when the natural way is lost. I'm sorry, kindness still exists when goodness is forgotten, kind of thing. So it's just like different levels of this stuff. And we're going to see a parallel to that in the second part of this verse. So I'll save more of what I have to say till we read that. I think it'll be much clearer. So that's
Yeah.
it for that one, right?
Yeah.
So now we have to go back and read the second parts.
No, no, I have to read.
Oh, you have to read Aleister Crowley. Who cares about you, Sharon? No,
Good thing we remember, we
yeah,
help
we
each
keep
other
each
out.
other on track. Yeah, it's great.
All right, Aleister Crowley. I don't know where we're at, so I'm just gonna go with it. Okay, concerning the day. Those who possessed perfectly the powers, day, did not manifest them, and so they preserved them. Those who possessed them imperfectly feared to lose them, and so lost them. The former did nothing, nor had need to do. The latter did, and had need to do. So that I love this first part. Wow. So
Yeah.
those who possess perfectly the powers, or those who possessed the way, those who know the way, right? Did not manifest these powers that they knew, and so they preserved them. It's like if you have what they call a city or a power or a miracle that you can do, you don't just go around and do them just because you can do them, right? That's there for a
That's how you
purpose.
lose it.
Yeah. So, you don't go around manifesting your little powers in your cities. Um, and so that's how you preserve them. And it's like humility. You stay humble. Um, you don't think you're this great thing just because you have these powers. You stay humble and you're like, who am I to have this ability? This is a great gift, of God to have this ability. I'm not going to go squander it and bring honor to myself. Who am I? Right? That's the that's the master. That's who possesses it perfectly. And
It
then you have those who possess it imperfectly. They're like fearing they're going to lose their powers, their abilities, their way, and so they lose them, right? It kind of reminds me of the scripture that's like, those who have I will give more, to those who don't have or have little, even the little they have will be taken away from them, because you squander it, basically.
Because you think
um,
you own it, right? Because you
yeah.
think you are somebody who owns things when you really are just consciousness having this experience that's
Mm-hmm.
physical. And it reminds me of, you could say even the uh, analogy of a superhero. So like Superman, he has all these powers, but he only uses them to help and save the world and help people and stuff like that. He's not like robbing banks and like using his X-ray vision to like, uh spy on people and stuff. You know what I mean? I mean, maybe the character does that or whatever, but that's the analogy, right? It's like a superhero, somebody who finds themselves with power, and then the villain would be the person who has this power and they
Squanders
use
it.
it for their own gain, squanders it, and they
Mm-hmm.
have the fear of losing it, like you said. So if you fear that you're going to lose it, of course you're going to lose it because you're constantly worried about it, and where your attention is, that's where where your attention flows, your energy goes, kind of thing. So if you're just constantly worried about fear, then it will probably manifest itself. And if you're using that power to impress people, just because you don't think you're good enough, so you're using this power that you have, it's like anything else, like a musician or a comedian or an actor or something, right? It's possible they don't feel that they're good enough, that just their music or their art is what people like. They might not actually like the person who they are. So they have a fear. And through this fear, they try to hold on to this fame or whatever they have. And that's how like people become one-hit wonders, right? Because they're so focused on all the attention and stuff, they forget about the creative process. And then the stuff that they make is just garbage after their formerly genius stuff that they made. They don't have that hunger anymore. I feel like it's the same thing. That's why this spiritual climbing in this path, and so you're never done. You know what I mean? Like you're just constantly climbing the mountain. You might hit a peak, but the problem is like you get to a certain point and you're like, wow, look at all this stuff that I've learned. I'm great now. And then you get knocked down a couple pegs.
Spiritual ego.
That's why I laugh so much at things, because I try not to take anything seriously, really. I mean,
Mm-hmm. Right.
arguably, and this could get you into trouble in your relationship, everybody, if you're a man and you're dating a woman and you just laugh at inappropriate times. But it is your own responsibility to sometimes not laugh, even though if you think situations are funny, because the funny that I'm talking about isn't like in the physical funny realm. It's the spiritual funny, that it's like a synchronicity that happens that makes me
Mm-hmm.
laugh, kind of thing. So, but anyway,
Absolutely.
I
Yeah.
love
So the former did nothing. The former, who possessed the powers perfectly, just was doing, doing, not doing, wu wei. And he had no need to do. He just be. He didn't need to do. He just be. And the latter had need to do.
Yep. I love that. Did nothing, nor had need to do anything, and had need to. So it's, I don't know. I love this Aleister Crowley, how he just like throws in these
Yes.
little
Right.
things in there, right? Like, so this
Yes.
guy, the guy who had the powers, he did nothing and he had no need to. But the other
Mm.
guy, he did something and had need to. So he had the need to because of his doubt, because of his own self-doubt inside himself. People aren't going to like me unless I could unless I could start paper on fire, like that video going around
Yeah.
where the guy
Yeah.
starts to, you know, um,
Unless I can turn lead into gold.
yeah, or
Unless
like
I can
tarot,
find the
right?
philosopher's stone.
You become a tarot card reader and you're really good at it. And now you think that people aren't going to like you for you. They just want you for your ability to read the tarot. So then you get worried about it and you start to like see a lack where there is none. You perceive your own lack. And because of that lack, you act out of fear. And because of acting out of fear, you lose your power.
And you
So
need to
cycle
do.
up,
You feel
cycle
like
down.
you need to do.
You feel like you need to do something. Exactly. I think
Hmm.
I think Aleister Crowley, he's up in heaven. He's like, man, these guys get it. He's sitting on a cloud up in heaven going, man, you guys are nailing it.
Chatting with Blavatsky, chilling with her. And they're like, yeah.
These
That's
guys
right.
get it. We should clip that part. All right. See, I was doing without anything. I was doing, not doing right there with that statement. Okay.
Those those who possessed benevolence exercised it and had need it. That's funny because I thought he would say and had need of it or need to do it, but he just says had need it. So
oh,
also it, well, so also was it with them who possessed justice. Those who possessed the conventions displayed them. And when men would not agree, they made ready to fight them. This is that whole like enforcing it with violence that Stan Rosenthal said there.
but
Um,
also think of this word, justice, right?
justice.
The justice card.
The 8
Crowley
and the
Flip.
11. Yes.
All right. Sorry to
I see
everybody.
811 regularly. I haven't seen it in a
Yeah.
little while, but I used to see it every day. 811. Used to see it every day. Those who possessed benevolence exercised it and had need it. Can you help me break this down?
Uh, those. All right. Let me just read this again. This really is. I'm a mouse really
I'm
great.
telling you, it's a deep.
He's up in heaven, just smiling at us.
Or could it be we're all in the same space, but we can't see them? Maybe he's with us.
Yeah, yeah. In a good way. It's funny because people say they have like negative experiences with the Aleister Crowley or that or being or whatever. People might try to like contact that entity or whatever, but we're just speaking truth, breaking down his words. So in a way he is here with us, but in a positive way, right? In a not a negative way. I'll just say it that way. Yeah, it's great. I love it. He's just up in heaven smiling down. I want to
Blue
say that.
Kachina says, just us.
Yeah. Oh, all right.
Nice.
We'll coordinate that. We'll incorporate that and coordinate. I make up my own. Those I'm accidentally funny. Those who possessed benevolence exercised it and had need it. All right, so I think it's he's saying that the people who have this who had used to have it exercised it because they needed this benevolence, and so also was it with them who possessed justice. So
So that
people
those who possess justice exercised it and
exercised
had
it.
need to do so as
Yeah,
well. Mm,
those who possess the conventions display them, and when men would not agree, they made ready to fight them. So in one way, he's
yeah.
saying it's perfect. Everybody that did what they were supposed to do, I'm not judging it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not judging them. They all had need to do it. Why did they do it? And he's kind of giving you a choice though, like which one do you want to be, right? Like out of all these three, which sounds even better. So that's one part to it. And then
But in the end, no matter what, those who possess benevolence, those who possess justice, and the conventions, when men would not agree, they made ready to fight them. So it did them no good in the sense of like, it wasn't truly benevolent. It wasn't true justice. It wasn't whatever what he means by convention, but
I
it
don't
it
know.
still made them want to fight, right?
He might just be because there's a period after justice. So he might just be talking about, and when men would, he might just be talking about the people who possessed conventions. Because in the other verses, you only have like one guy who's a disciplinarian who wants to enforce it. So
Okay.
I think he's saying those who possess the conventions display them. And when men would not agree, they made ready to fight them. So the conventions, you could look at them as the rules, right? Or the order or whatever, or
Mm-hmm.
this whole thing. The people who possess that, the leaders of this, they set it out. So it's like three ways to be benevolent, uh, justice, or conventions. And I think the
The only
convention, go ahead, go
the
ahead.
only reason I you might be right, but the only reason I think it might be the other way is that because when he said the former did nothing nor had need to do,
Oh,
um,
yeah.
But then when he says they need it, they had need it, to me, it's like, it's kind of like the latter, which had need to.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, that makes sense.
But, I could be wrong. So,
What does the chat think?
because those who possess perfectly the powers did not manifest them, right? But then he says those who possessed benevolence exercised it and had need it. In other words, they manifested it. They showed it off, maybe. They used it. They've used it. Those who
Yeah.
possess benevolence. And so it was with them who possess justice. So those who possess, you know, I don't know if it's what he means by those who possess justice, maybe those who have the ability to enforce justice, like lawmakers or not lawmakers, but like people in courtrooms and stuff like that, right? And then they exercise it. But by doing so, it brings about this, like, oh, when you don't agree with me, then I'm going to fight you attitude.
Yeah, I mean that does make sense because that's usually what happens. So tricky, Mr. Aleister Crowley. So I looked up. I mean, I have an idea what benevolence means, but I sometimes like to look it up. But it
Yeah,
says
I do too.
quality of being well-meaning kindness.
Well, the road to hell is paved with
Yeah,
benevolence, with good intentions, right?
yeah.
Dissident Jones says, try to force might as right, and your efforts will be destroyed by the light. Don't pick a Tao fight.
Nice. Did you make that up?
I think he did.
Oh, I love it. You're a poet. You didn't even know it. Somebody said earlier, you get what you deserve.
Yeah,
Cody
it
said
was
that earlier.
it was Cody.
Yeah, Cody said that, right?
He's quoting a movie, but which movie is it? I think it's
It's right on the tip of my tongue, too.
Joker. I think
Yeah,
it's
I think
I think
so.
it's that. I've never seen it. Oh, I didn't want to see it, but anyway, he likes that movie. And I think that's where he got it from. And everything happens for a reason. That's right.
Mhm.
Um, so anyway, yeah, that's a good one. So that's the first part of verse 38.
All right, I'll bring up the second parts now. So we're going to be doing the Stephen Mitchell, the second part. When the Tao is lost, there is goodness. When goodness is lost, there is morality. When morality is lost, there is ritual. When ritual is the husk of true faith, the beginning of chaos. And I remember hearing this for the first time, and I absolutely loved it because it reminds me of the situation where we find ourselves now in the world, where there's so much ritual and all the major, think of the major religions, it's all about ritual, right?
Mhm.
Like
Go to
Christian,
church,
yes,
blah, blah,
go to church,
blah.
go to the mosque, go to temple, follow the rules. You do these rituals, you say these words. Like I said earlier, I went to Catholic school. We'd be there saying
Go to
these things. We had no,
mass, repeat these words.
we just repeat them. We had no idea. But then I've been to a Catholic church since for like a christening or something, and I've seen a couple different masses since I've kind of like woke up to all this stuff. And this is something I got from Ram Dass. He's like, he's like, now I go to like a Christian church and I hear the living spirit. Like I hear the word
Mm-hmm.
of what they're, even though the priest up there might not
The
even totally
depth of
understand it,
it.
the debt exactly, and the other meaning to it and all that
Mm-hmm.
stuff and where it fits in. And I feel like what they're highlighting here in the Tao is just this stage of, it's like the different yugas kind of, right? Like they talk about in Hinduism, the different ages, the gold age, the silver age, the bronze age,
Mm-hmm.
whatever, you have this, when the Tao is lost, there is goodness. So when people aren't following the Tao, they're good. We're good, man. They're still clinging to their goodness. Right. But when the goodness is gone, you look at like in our society, let's just say United States, it's not really a goodness thing. You could say it's probably more like a morality. Like some people have morality and they have like a
Oh,
moral
yeah.
compass, which is also a good thing. We're not saying any of these things are in themselves bad. But then the next step is when they don't even have morality, they just have ritual. So they're just going to church and they feel like if they just go to church, all my sins are forgiven. I'm good. I could just go and do what I have to do, go sin throughout the week and then come back and my sins will be forgiven. Yeah, it's amazing how they, whenever this was written, that they knew this stuff. It's crazy. They just observed the cycles of human behavior throughout. the times.
Yeah, I was listening to a little bit of The Power of Myth, which is a series that Joseph Campbell did. He was being interviewed and he was talking about that a little bit. Um what you said about um like Christianity and like the Western view, and how it's like there's that morality to it, but um it's kind of based on the idea of a fall, and like we're born in sin type of uh thing, versus the way a lot of other religions of the world see things, which is in a more like nature based, like it's all nature. um yeah, anyway, that was just a little side rant.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think that this could happen to any kind of religion, and even the hermetics and the stuff that we talk about. I feel like some people are keeping it alive through just a ritual, maybe like the Freemasons, for example, right? This would be a
Mhm.
great example. So most Freemasons that go down to the lodge and drink every like Tuesday night or whatever it is that they do. Like I have a friend, this guy I've known for a while. I'm just like follow him on Instagram. I haven't talked to him in a while, but I just follow him on Instagram, and I guess he became a Freemason. So he just keeps like showing all these pictures of the lodge and like hanging out with the dudes and all the cool things, you know. So that's really where the ritual is. So they get all these people into the ritual, and then the ones that um show a little more
Ascend or
understanding,
whatever.
they probably bring them into the inner fold or whatever, right? So this ritual thing could be done in any kind of, I think, belief system or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You can make anything a ritual. I mean, that's what I think, that's why it's important to break patterns sometimes, right? Because that ritual is what seems to get people stuck. Same old, you know.
Hmm. Maybe I won't make coffee tomorrow morning.
Well,
I got
speaking
Damien.
of that, yesterday I went a full day with no coffee, but I didn't really mean to do it. I was kind of attempting to do a intermittent fast. And so I was like, well, if I drink my coffee, I want it with cream. So I'm like, I just won't have it now. Maybe I'll have it later. And then I waited, and then I was distracted. I was on my computer. So I didn't drink coffee all day until like um this morning when I had some black, because I'm gonna try to do some more intermittent fasting. So I'm breaking
Nice.
pattern. See?
There's a way to fast or intermittent fast where you do just fats too, I think. I don't know if you're probably just doing like,
Yeah.
so you could do like coconut oil or butter or something.
Right, right. I just prefer cream. I mean,
Crema. No, I get
I
it.
love it. It's what makes coffee taste like coffee to me. So drinking it black today was kind of like, okay,
Rough, right? I like
it's
black
all
coffee.
right, but
I hear you.
it's my
I'm
little
just
thing.
addicted to the butter coffee that I drink.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I get it. Some people really like that bulletproof style coffee. I
Oh,
never really got into it because I like half and half and milk and cream too much.
yeah, I hear you. Raw milk. Mm.
Hmm.
All right. So therefore I'll finish this up now. I think we broke that down pretty nicely. So therefore the master concerns himself with the depths and not the surface, with the fruit and not the flower. He has no will of his own. He dwells in reality and lets all illusions go. And again, it's like the small I versus the big I kind of thing with the ego. I think that's exactly what he's talking about here. You know, with the he has no will of his own. He dwells in reality. So he's like he has no will of his own. He dwells in reality and lets all illusions go. And the illusion, the
Hmm.
Maya, that's what they call it, the dream. You just let it go. You're not attached to it, right? You're like you still got to be in this life and function and overcome your hurdles, and you're gonna have things come that you have to work on and all that stuff. But It's about realizing and understanding that it's not an illusion, because what is that? Or realizing, understanding that it is an illusion, because that helps you to not feel like a victim. It's a test. And that's kind of how they put it. Like in Job, he looks at it as a test. All that stuff that happens to him, Job loses his family and all his poor little sheep and all this stuff. And he looks at it as a test. And what happens? The Lord rewards him double.
Mhm.
I love the way that did you watch Good Omens 2 yet? Because they cover all that stuff.
No, I didn't. I'll start it up again because yesterday I was like, you know what? I think I want to watch the second season. So I will. That'll be
It's
fun.
funny because they pick on that story and they look at it literally, and like they're trying to hide Job's kids because they're like the devil demon guy's the one sent to kill him, and he makes them frogs or something for a while because he knows the Lord's gonna bring him back twice after. But he's like, well, why? And that's the thing. A lot of people get tripped up with the story of Job, and even in South Park they did it. They're like, this is stupid. Like, why should he? If God kills everybody, he's like making a bet with the devil. Like, this is so screwed up. And then he kills his family. Again, that's when you're taking it literally, right?
Hmm.
You're not
Right.
seeing story there where it's just about somebody who living back then, all those things could easily happen to somebody. So it doesn't mean that God, anyway, point of
Yeah.
view, all where your mind's at.
Um, just I want to kind of go back to the beginning of the top where it was says
Yeah,
the Tao is lost, there's goodness. Um, did you talk about that and I missed it?
kind of, but I could reiterate a little, maybe expand, which is like, so the Tao is the way, so the way is the optimal way that you want to operate, and the next level under it is goodness. So when you're not actually living by the way, you're just trying to be good. But again, like you said, we've said a few times, the path to hell is paved with good intentions. So you're not
Okay.
acting in accordance with nature, but you think you're being good. You're still good. You might still be a good person, and you're trying to do your best or whatever,
Okay.
but you
I
might
see.
not be like living in accordance to the Dharma kind of thing.
Just different levels. And then the ritual is the husk of true faith, which is, I completely understand that. The beginning of chaos. And I think I just want to comment on that. The beginning of chaos. Um, I think it could probably point to when you're like in this ritualistic state, you might get to the point of where you say, why am I doing this? Why is praying a certain way the way to do it? Why do I go to church every Sunday? Why do I have to go to church every Sunday? Et cetera, et cetera. Which brings the whole awakening, right? Which is the chaotic moments. I don't know. What do you think?
I like that. That makes me think, because ritual is order. Ritual is like order to the nth degree, and then the opposite of order is chaos. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like the seeds for the order contains the seeds for its own destruction in it, because it's so rigid that people are going to question it, and then it's going to be chaos. And then from that
Mm-hmm.
chaos you get the fire. Out of the fire, the phoenix, born
Phoenix
again,
rises.
rises up,
Mm,
right? It's that
I love
cycle.
it.
Yeah, and
I
that's
love
kind
it.
of
I
why when
love it.
people say they think that the golden age exactly follows like a Kali Yuga,
Mm-hmm.
because of that,
Mm-hmm.
there's just such a
Exactly.
just flips. And I
Right.
think what happens is people catch on and they just all, most of them, and then the other ones probably get left behind in some kind of cataclysmic event. I don't know. Who knows? But
During the eclipse, perhaps.
yeah,
During the coming
that whole
eclipse.
Salem thing was crazy.
Isn't that weird?
Eclipse, the eclipse in 2017, when it went, just to explain to everybody, like, say here's the United States, like here's, well, we'll do it this way. Here's Florida. No, all right. The way the eclipse went, it was like diagonal, and there was like 7 towns named Salem that it crossed, and now it's going to go the other X. It's going
The
to
other
make the
way.
flag, and it's going to hit Salem, New
A lot of
Massachusetts.
other Salems too.
Yeah, it's going to hit all 7 other Salems. So 7 cities named Salem in the United States it crossed, and now it's going to cross a whole. Well, maybe one of them's the same because it's an access point. I didn't quite look again, but yeah,
Yeah. It's kind of
the
bizarre.
7 kind of bizarre. Yeah, it's because it's a realm that we don't quite understand.
And
I love how
Salem means Salem means peace. So like, um, what was it? What was I gonna say? Melchizedek. Is it? No, never mind. I'm thinking of something else. Anyway, Salem means peace, right? Doesn't Salem mean peace?
I'm not sure. Let me look it up.
Yeah, it
I'll
does.
just put
Pretty sure.
Salem means peace and see what the does Salem mean peace? The name Salem is derived from the Hebrew word shalom and means peace. Oh my God. Not only does Salem mean peace, but it's shalom.
Mhm.
That
And then
blows my
In Arabic, it's salam. That's why I
salam.
say
Assalamu alaikum.
assalamu alaikum. Yeah, salam.
Amalaikum salam.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Yeah, alaikum assalam. I always forget. I've known
Wa
that. So
wa wa alaikum assalam.
wa alaikum assalam.
Yeah.
That's crazy that the witch trials were in Salem.
Cody was just telling me that because when he was a kid, they went to Boston, and then they also hit that town, Salem, and it was just really interesting. He found it really fascinating.
I don't know if I don't think I've been to Salem. Maybe when I was younger, but it's not really far from here. Maybe Elizabeth and I should go there. Maybe we'll go there for the eclipse.
We should make a trip out of it.
Yeah, a witch trip.
Oh,
Witch
and
trip.
Cody said that now they have like lots of witches there, like crystal shops and all kind of
Oh
stuff
yeah.
there.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, now it's flourishing because all those people want to go see the witchery, whatever. All right, where were we?
Yeah, I think we finished Stephen Mitchell,
Okay,
verse 38, part 2.
that's right. You just wanted, so you're clear now on all that?
Yeah, that was good.
Thank you.
All right, so Dwight Goddard's second half of verse 38. Therefore, when one loses Tao, there is still day. All right, so when you lose your way, there is still virtue, right? One may
Oh,
lose
I love it.
one may lose day, which is virtue, and benevolence remains. So there you go. That's maybe that's the morality part, right?
Yeah.
Still hold to one may forsake benevolence and still hold to righteousness. One may lose righteousness and propriety remains. Propriety alone reduces loyalty and good faith to a shadow, and it is the beginning of disorder. Oh, there you go. There's the chaos.
Yeah.
Tradition is the mere flower of the Tao and had its origin in ignorance. Therefore, the great man of affairs conforms to the spirit and not to external appearance. He goes on to fruitage and does not rest in the shadow of blossom. He avoids mere propriety and practices true benevolence.
I like that.
So, yeah, so there you have it. Let's see. We'll start with one may lose day and benevolence remains. One may forsake benevolence and still hold to righteousness. One may lose righteousness and propriety remains. So I guess he's using these as like levels to kind of like Stephen Mitchell did. And so I guess propriety in this case is like the lowest rung, but propriety is kind of like that ritual, right? Propriety is like the ritual.
The rules.
It's socially accepted rules, right?
That's so
Um,
crazy, man.
wow.
Because it's like if you know the way, then you don't need rules, right? You don't
Yeah.
need nothing. You just trust your inner self. But when you can't
Yeah.
trust it, so it not only on a societal level can you be taught, we could be talking about this, but in an internal level, you could look at this as well. So if you're not dealing with it on the inside, then it's going to manifest on the outside. You're going to need somebody to tell you what to do. Like if you can't act
Yes.
correctly in this world, then you're going to have a government appear over you and they're going to tell you how to live. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's like right hand and left hand path that Ben Balderson talks about. Like
Yeah.
sometimes you do need that right hand path to be like, what do I do? What are the things? What are the rules? How do I live? I need that list of moral rules. I need the 10 commandments, Whereas the left hand path says, I know the way. I'll just I'll just be. I'll just woo way. I'll woo way my way through this.
It's like bowling, right? You can go bowling and they could put out those bumpers for you if you want, but then you look like, or
Remember on
you could,
Napoleon Dynamite,
what part? What
puts
part are
the
you?
bumpers on. His brother, I forgot his name, Kip, he puts the bumpers on and then he like rolls it, hits like two things and it like hits almost all of them but leaves the pin and then he's like, yes, that's where he does, that's where the meme or the gif where he's
Yeah.
going like that.
I just referenced that movie the other day. That's great.
Oh my god, Cody just saw it for the first time because I'm like, this is like a weird, just kind of a silly movie, but like it's like a, if you don't know it, if there's so many people that talk about it, so like you should at least kind of know what they're referencing. So yeah, he just
I
watched
used to
it
have
the
a
other day.
vote for Pedro t-shirt.
That's funny, so silly. Oh, he looked at it. He's like, this movie's so bizarre. Like, I wonder the like history behind it. So he looked it up. He said, check out the Wikipedia page, which I haven't done, but he told me that it was there were a couple of Mormons, I think, from BYU that,
Oh,
and it was kind of like real low budget and everything, but they kept like trying to find someone who would like put it out there for them. And eventually, yeah, it took off. They did not expect it to take off like it did.
oh, that's great. Yeah, I remember that it started as something small, and I think they
Yeah.
reshot it though before. I think there's another
Well,
version or something,
I think
right?
yeah, I think he said that it was like they tried to do it as like a short. So but then they kept adding to it or something. Um Eventually they, made it a full length movie. And they had such a low budget and everything. They ended up only shooting it in like 29 days or something. And up in like Idaho, next to the border of Utah or something. So
My, my favorite part is still the guy in the egg place. He's like, like he just, and they're like, what did he just say?
the egg place.
Remember when he goes to work? He's like, the chickens have large talons when he's working at the place collecting eggs, and they
Oh
pay him
yes,
in change,
yes.
and they pay him in change. Like I was like, and the one guy that's with the farmer that talks funny, he's just like,
Yeah.
like I've met
Yeah.
people like that. Anyway,
Oh, that's silly. Anyway, that was a
in
side note.
Duncan, Idaho. Sorry, because he was in Idaho. All right. Yeah.
So yeah, so I was at the propriety remains and then propriety alone, which is that's ritual, right? That we associated it with a ritual. Reduces loyalty and good faith to a shadow. So yeah, I mean, if you're just constantly doing this ritual and there's no meaning to it behind it, you're like, is it really truly loyal? Like, no, it's just a ritual. It's over and over rote.
You're
It
doing it
gets,
because you have to, not because you
yeah,
want to, right?
exactly. It's boring. It's rote. Hmm.
It's like school.
Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
So, okay, so there he says it's the beginning of disorder. So this is the last. Actually, the way I cut it was a little bit weird, but at the time I thought it was the best place to cut it. But actually, like the husk of true faith, the beginning of chaos, and then the good faith to a shadow end is the beginning of disorder. So there
Yeah,
you go. There's that piece there,
gotcha.
and then tradition is the mere flower of the Tao and had its origin in ignorance.
I like that
Therefore, go ahead.
because tradition is what looks pretty to everybody. It's appealing, right? But it's
Mm-hmm.
ignorance. They're not actually living the way. They're just
Tradition and ritual,
showing up.
same thing, right?
Yep.
Had its origin in ignorance. No, you don't know why you're doing it. You're just, oh, everybody else is doing it. That's why I do it. My parents taught me to do this. My church taught me to do this, right?
Exactly.
And it's the beauty of it. It's like when you go to like an Orthodox church or something like that, and you see all these beautiful pictures, these beautiful statues, the gowns that they're wearing. Like I've heard people tell me, literally tell me that the reason they're interested in Orthodoxy is because of the gowns that these dudes wear. Like I've heard that before, and not just from one person. Like it's pretty, it's beautiful. It's the flower, right? It just looks pretty. That's all.
You could just get a robe. You don't have to. You could just be a wizard. I mean, but no, you're right. It is. It's pretty. It's appealing. It's what everyone else is doing. It gives you a sense of belonging
Mm-hmm.
because most people have this crazy,
And
um, like abandonment that we all went
yeah,
through in our
and
lives.
a sense of someone you can trust, or someone who has authority, who knows better than you, who knows more than you,
It's like
right?
a control thing, but not like you're being controlled, but you're in control now because now all your questions are answered. I'm going to
Yes.
heaven. Everything I'm doing is right. I got this ritual that I do. If I perform it, we're good to go.
Yeah. I got
But
baptized.
the thing though that
I
I
have a new name. I have a new saint's name, which is a
yeah,
thing, I guess, in Orthodoxy.
another thing, a reason why I don't disparage the organized religions like that is because they still spread this message. They're still spreading the Bible, and they're still waking people up because people still leave all the time. You just don't hear
Mhm.
about, and then they
Yeah.
come on for Sharon. So
Yeah.
it's
So,
great. So they are keeping that message alive. And that's the one thing I do like about organized religion is that
yeah.
there is a Bible in every hotel room because of organized religion,
Yeah. And they have their purpose, right? Everybody needs to experience something like that at some point in time. Um,
Oh, shizzle.
so therefore the great man of affairs conforms to the spirit and not to external appearance. So there you go. So someone who gets that those things are just for show, that's just the appearance, um, it's just a ritual, unless you know the deep meaning, et cetera, et cetera. Anyway, therefore, this great man of affairs conforms to the spirit of it, right? And not
Mhm.
to the external appearance. So he knows the depth
And there
and
it is
not.
again, spirit versus physical, right?
Mhm.
Spirit and then external.
Right. That's the one. He goes on to fruitage, and he does not rest in the show of blossom. He turns his flower into a freaking piece of fruit. Damn it. You know, he goes from being a little flower to being a lovely orange or an apple or whatever, right?
Yeah. Or even coming across this information, say the organized religion is the flower. He doesn't just pick the flower, he waits for the fruit to come, right? And he
Right,
gets
right,
seeds that
right.
are in the fruit.
And what does, Jesus say? Like, by their fruits you shall know them. Not by their flowers, you know,
Yeah,
not
that's a great point, man.
not by the floweriness and their beauty, but by their fruit. Because you got to wait. You got to wait for the fruit.
Yeah.
And it can take years. You sometimes you plant a little baby lemon seed. That's going to take
I was gonna
years.
say lemon. That's so crazy.
That's insane. I don't even know why I said lemon. It just came to my mind.
I was thinking limes, but I was gonna say lemon because I was thinking of our lovely good friend who provided me with a lemon before. I don't know if we should say her real name in here, but
Okay, that's fine. Yes, that's okay.
Carmen. I guess we could just say that.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. I was thinking about that. She had lemon tree, and
Um,
I remember people saying that when you plant fruit trees, like apple trees or whatever, sometimes it takes a while, and you really
oh,
have to
yeah.
be
Oh,
dedicated to.
yeah.
It. So,
That's why you can go to, like, for example, Cody and I were at Costco, I don't know, a couple weeks ago, and saw some already, ready to plant trees, fruit trees, like citrus trees and stuff.
Oh,
But they're like in a pot ready to go because they already did that for you. They did that process for you. And so now you can just take it, it won't take as many years to see,
just like the Over Sharon show. We're doing that for people.
There you go. We're taking it, getting it ready for you, and you
By
just
going
take it
through the
home.
experience ourselves, people could kind of skip some of the steps.
Yeah.
The That's pretty cool. I like it.
Yeah.
And we got our information from people who took even more information and distilled it down.
Mm-hmm.
It's great. All
Yeah.
right.
So almost done here. He avoids mere propriety, which is that, tradition and ritual we
Just
were
the
talking about,
rules. Yeah.
or the rules, and and therefore he practices true benevolence. And added the word therefore.
Yes. Love it. Now we're gonna go. That's what, part two,
To the
right?
Stan Rosenthal part two.
Here we go. Okay. It may be that justice still remains when the people are no longer kind. And when this is lost, that ritual still remains. So basically the same thing, right? Justice, goodness, ritual. It's like breaking it down. However, or like a steps down. However, ritual may be performed only as an act of faith, and maybe the beginning of confusion
There
for
you
even,
go.
right? And then this one I like because it doesn't really say this anywhere else. For even divination and the such are
Mm-hmm.
but the flowery
Mm,
trappings of the
mm,
Tao. How
mm,
dare you?
mm. When I read that, I was like,
Ugh. Even the divination part of it, right? So there go all your tarot card readers and bone
Finish
readers.
that last bit. Finish that last bit.
Oh yeah, I know we gotta get going.
No, you're fine. No, no, I just wanted
Oh yeah, okay. And are the beginning of great folly. Perfect.
because that goes together, right?
Yeah,
So
100%.
could it be, you guys?
And again, right? It's not that the tarot or any of these things are evil
Mhm.
or bad or they're gonna send you the wrong way. It's just
How you use
how
it,
to use them. Yeah.
intention, and you know, what is the spirit? How does the spirit use the tarot versus how does your ego use the
Yeah, like
tarot?
right versus spiritual. Yeah, it's all about that distinction. I love it. All right, let me get the second part out of the way. Here we
But
go.
wow, he's like really,
Nails it.
yeah.
He who is truly great does not upon the surface dwell,
Mm,
but on what lies
mm,
beneath. Right? It's like you don't judge a book by its cover, right? You got to read the thing.
mm.
It
Yep.
is said that the fruit is his concern rather than the flower. Each must decide what it might be he seeks. The flowery trapping, which comes to summer fullness first, or the fruit, which is beneath. And again, it's like we were talking about with the first, right? Like what came first? This flower's out there first, but you got to put that time in. You have to have patience to cultivate the fruit.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. And it's funny because flowers look good and they smell good. I mean, some are edible, but they can't sustain you like the fruit can, right?
Yeah,
Totally.
exactly. And then the part where it says, not on the surface dwell, like don't judge a book by its cover, like it makes me think of Aleister Crowley.
Mm.
And when you and I were first like even bringing up his name, there were people that were like, "Oh my God, don't talk about him, don't look into him." And it's like, how am I going to know who he is if I don't read what he's done? If I don't read his book or his books or his translations? Like that's his fruit. That's his evidence right there. Right. I just thought of that right now. Like, what is his fruit? What do we have to see now that he's gone? Only the books that he wrote, perhaps, could it be? And so what do those tell us? And I mean, I can't say I've read any of his books, but I've read this translation, half of it practically, and I like it.
And his tarot deck is really amazing
Oh
too.
yes, and yeah, and I have his tarot deck. Yeah. So I like when we were talking about him at the very beginning, I just was like, I didn't know him. So I can't say anything. Like, I don't know what to say. I know what people said about him, but even that I don't know that much of because I don't usually listen to what other people say about other people. Like, I have to have my own experience.
Yep.
I take it with a grain of salt. You might be right, you might be wrong. I don't know. But yeah, anyway, that's what that reminded me of.
I like
Yes.
Michael Tessarion's the way he kind of approaches Aleister Crowley, which is kind of like, just take the good stuff, like
Yeah.
leave stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's with everybody, right? Like everybody has their own, like you put someone on a pedestal, you're going to find something that you don't like, that you think is bad. But that's with everyone. So why don't you just not put somebody on a pedestal and take the good and leave the rest?
Yeah. I mean, Aleister Crowley, he's just chilling in heaven. He doesn't need people to demonize him. I just love that theme. Can you imagine being a Christian and going to heaven and like Aleister Crowley's there? You're like, what the hell? You're
He's
like,
the
no.
one greeting you when you first.
Yeah. They're like, what the hell? Like, no, this is a different place. This is
But
all right.
speaking of Aleister Crowley, I'm about to read the last half of verse 38 by his translation. Thus, when the Tao was lost, the magic powers appeared. The magic powers. Um, then, by successive degradations, as we've
I
seen in some
like
of the other,
that.
I know
He like says it
that's
to me, right? Successive
right.
degradations. Yeah.
Oh my God. And so he says the words that are, who says, hold on, I'm looking for who said the other words.
It was him, right? In the part.
Dwight Goddard. Listen, check this
Oh,
out. So then by successive degradations came benevolence. One more up. Benevolence.
oh yeah.
Wait, I'm trying to see what he said. Benevolence, justice, convention. Well, I guess everybody used different words a little bit. Somebody else used convention. Who did?
Yeah, I thought that was in the second part of, or no, it was the first. Here it is, right? I
Dang it. Who said it? It's driving me nuts. I'm going to
think
find it.
definitely something you read.
Oh, was it?
Oh, I guess it's Aleister Crowley in the first part. He says it too. Those who possess the conventions displayed them.
Oh, oh, he did it himself. He said
Yeah, so we're
benevolence.
we're getting more
Mm.
clarification though, for sure.
Nice. Nice. Yeah. Benevolence, justice, and convention. So there you go. Those are the successive degradations
Wow.
um as I had thought.
Yeah, you were
Wow.
right.
No worries. Um Now convention is the shadow of loyalty and goodwill. Someone else said loyalty, right?
Was it Alistair in the soup?
Yes. Oh, Dwight Goddard in verse 38, part 2 says, propriety alone reduces loyalty.
Oh, in good faith to a shadow. All right, so it's basically the same thing he's saying.
Yeah,
So we'll go.
exactly. See, they both say similar things in this particular verse. Mention is the shadow of loyalty and good. Sorry if we're like making your guys' head spin by looking at these slides going back and forth. Mention is the shadow of loyalty and goodwill.
And so the herald of
And he
disorder.
says good faith. Okay, yeah. Yeah. So
So that's
yeah, and Dwight Goddard says the same thing. The
yeah.
beginning of disorder.
Yep.
Wow.
And he's saying it more as like the herald, so it's like the oh man, I had the word, but then I forgot it. Just basically announcing it, like so when it gets to this point with convention, which is the rules, which is ritual, then it's announcing the disorder, right? It's like here it comes,
Mm-hmm.
it's coming next.
Yeah, and so in this case, I did something similar again, where You know, where it says the beginning of disorder, the beginning of great folly, whatever. So, yea, even understanding, I maybe would have, maybe could have split the other way. So
Oh,
putting
okay.
it down. But yeah, yea, even understanding is but a blossom of the Tao and foreshadoweth stupidity. Nice. Oh, there you like great folly, right?
Yeah.
Um, ignorance. Dwight Goddard says ignorance. So then the Tao man, which I don't think he's said before,
No, I don't think so either.
the Tao man holdeth to mass and avoideth motion. He is attached to the root, not to the flower. He leaveth the one and cleaveth to the other. So let's see. Let's go back to yea, even understanding is but a blossom of the Tao. Yeah. So when you begin to understand and have this concept, that's just the flower. So go beyond the understanding, right?
Yeah.
I think I would say going beyond the understanding is the true knowing, is the true experience, right?
Yeah, because we understand with our thinking ego mind, right? But the intuition knows, like, it doesn't have to understand or comprehend or any of that.
So and foreshadoweth stupidity. What do you think that means? Understanding is a blossom of the Tao and foreshadoweth stupidity.
I'm just looking at the other one to see what it says over here. So over here, on the left, I'm just trying to compare it with Stan Rosenthal. It is said that the fruit is his concern rather than the flower. Each must decide what it might be he seeks, the flowery trapping or the fruit. So he's saying,
I would say that you're reading the beginning of Great Folly is probably where.
oh yeah. Oh
No?
yeah,
What do you
stupidity.
think?
Yeah. So maybe it has to do with divination.
And foreshadow.
Okay, so if you go over here, however, ritual may be performed as only an act of faith and may be the beginning of confusion.
That's the Herald of Disorder part.
Yep. But right above it, beginning of confusion, disorder,
Dwight
flower.
Goddard's
Now
verse 38, part 2.
I'll go to that. I'm going slow so it doesn't make people too sick.
Okay.
Right here.
Yeah.
Propriety alone reduces loyalty and good faith to a shadow and is the beginning of disorder. Tradition is the mere flower of the Tao. So maybe they're talking about, maybe he's talking about an understanding of the traditions.
Because he says now that he's saying foreshadow with stupidity, and I think Dwight Goddard says propriety alone reduces loyalty and good faith to a shadow. Maybe. Is that? Oh no, he says convention is the shadow. Okay, never mind. Yeah, I don't know. But a foreshadowing of stupidity.
Yeah.
It just means like if you just think that simply by, oh, I understand, I comprehend, that's all you need to do, then that's quote stupid,
Yeah.
because there's more depth to that. It's not just the flower, right?
Yeah, I would agree with you there. I think it's kind of like organized religion, and the ritual is the flower we were talking
Mm-hmm.
about earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with the Tao, if you just look at it that way, if you're not like looking deeper into it.
Yeah. All right, let's finish that last bit off of uh verse 38.
There we go.
Aleister Crowley. Okay, so I read that part. So then the Tao man holdeth to mass and avoideth motion. He is attached to the root, not to the flower. So I guess he's holding on to the root of the thing. and not to the motion of it. The when something, what is it when something is it flutters and it's like not, it's not steady, or it's not like grounded, like the mass is referring to that root, right? Something that's grounded,
Mhm.
right? And the motion is referring to something that's what's the word I'm using? We're looking for flitty or
Flighty,
flighty. Yeah.
non-permanent.
Yeah. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, something flighty. Um, and so he is not attached to the flower, but to the root, which is grounded, right? And he leaves the one and cleaves to the other. He leaves the flower and holds on to the root. There you go.
Your roots.
And he uses root. Does he ever use fruit? He
In,
doesn't use fruit. He uses root.
yeah, I like that.
Interesting.
That is interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a
I
whole
don't
new
see him.
way to look at it. I mean, you could even argue that you can eat roots. Some roots are edible, so maybe that's where he was going.
Yeah.
But also, though, the root is where you're holding strong. The root is
Right.
it's like getting to the root of the problem, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Everything else you're
Oh.
just kind of dealing with. You're dealing with what do they call it? Like when you cough or you sneeze or symptoms. You're dealing with just symptoms, not the root cause.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Can we go back to, I just realized we didn't talk about the magic powers. This will probably be the last thing we talk about because we're getting to that point of
Oh yeah,
thing.
you're right. Thus, when the Tao was lost. Oh, here, let me. Gotta remember that I'm not Sharon. Sharon.
You're not over Sharon?
No, I'm under Sharon. Thus, when the Tao was lost, the magic powers appeared. Then, by successive degenerations. All right, so um, I think the way that we've heard Ram Dass and people talk about cities and powers and stuff like that, maybe they're saying that if everyone's living in accordance with the Tao, the Tao is throughout the land. We don't need powers or anything like that because everything's just going the way it has
Mm.
to. But then when it falls out of that, people get magical powers. So,
Well, the magical powers appear because back then they weren't magic. They just were.
no, yeah, that's
Everyone had everyone had cities. Everyone could do this because everyone was just going with the Tao. But now only the people that are actually going with the Tao are the ones who have these cities, these powers. They stick out like a sore freaking thumb. So they appear as if out of nothing.
I like that. That was good. I could see that. And then they degenerate as it goes down. And you wouldn't need anybody. What to finish thought I was saying, I like what you said though for sure. But if everyone's living in accordance with the Tao, the way that people were saying how you get powers just to try to like you could kind of sometimes wake people up with them, or sometimes it'll so maybe people need
Absolutely. Yeah, there's a
powers
plus side to it.
because if everyone's living in accordance with the Tao, then there's really nobody to wake up. But once the Tao is gone, then like we need to start doing something to get these people awake. So you have the powers, then that degenerates because people get power and they try to hold on to it, and then it just down the ladder.
So I want to read a couple comments. I missed them somehow. My live chat got stuck, and I missed some of the. So Dissident Jones says Melchizedek was the king of Salem. I'm like, I knew I had thought of that for some reason. Duh.
Oh,
Okay, thank you. And then Amberson says salami is peaceful sausage. Oh man.
but it's haram still, so Muslims can't eat it.
Oh, haram, haram. Yes, because it's pork. That's funny. Let's see. Davin says, "Down now, brown cow."
What's up, Davin? How's it going?
Yeah, welcome, Davin. Uh, let's see. Blue Kachina says, "You mean day now?" All right.
Blue
I'm
also
not.
said something about Aleister Crowley. He's like, Aleister Crowley's probably in heaven laughing his ass off or something like.
Oh, okay. Dissident Jones says, my children did not understand Napoleon Dynamite because the actors were being as children. I enjoy that one and love the farmer cheese scene. Oh, farmer change scene. Farmer change. Oh, yeah, yeah. The one that you were talking about.
Oh, the change. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah. And then Dissident Jones says,
$1 an hour.
Dissident Jones says, if the pinnacle of your profession is a bathrobe, well, you've made it.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a point. A bathrobe.
We have 13 people in the chat.
Nice. Thanks for being around, everybody. We've been going for over 2 hours, right?
Yeah, that's amazing.
2.5 now. Holy.
Um, John Chase, welcome. He says, made me think of Matthew 13, the parable of the sower. Yes, it does. And Blue Kachina says, Jesus, I think he said the last will be first and the first will be last. Yes. And Cody says, Eagle Bowers. That's from Nacho Libre.
Oh, yeah,
Use your eagle powers.
yeah. Just don't use them trying to show off.
Ah,
All right. Well, we made it through another Dow episode, everybody. We're to
yeah,
38,
that was a good one.
7,
I really enjoyed that.
2024. Thank you guys so much for hanging out all the way to the end.
The sun is out.
The sun it's cloudy here now, but it doesn't look like it's gonna rain. So I still might go for a walk in the woods.
Nice.
But because of that, I gotta wrap this up, everybody, because I gotta go eat too. So thank you guys so much. Go to morelawsmoreproblems.com, click on the Oversharing tab. There's several ways to support us financially, but we always say the best way to support us is just to be here every Thursday when we go live
Be
or
here now.
so it's be here now. Right now is when you should be here, and 13 of you are nailing it. Thank you. So it's like Jesus and the 12 apostles. It's great.
It is the 12. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's the 12 now.
So yeah, check that out. And then also like, share, subscribe. We've been bouncing between 822 and 823 subscribers for like 2 months now. I'm like always looking because when you look on the app, the studio app, it always shows how many subscribers you have on top at first. So I'm like, is it going to be 822 or 823 today, guys? But again, we don't, it's fine. We're getting there. Yeah. So do all that fun stuff I just said, and look for that episode on the 21st of me and Joe and Jeff, and look forward also to more Dow episodes, and then our free flow episode that we want to do. And maybe we'll have some guests coming up soon too. It's the spring. You never know. Happy New Year, everybody, by the way, because we all know that
Chinese
March
New Year.
is really, the China or the, like the Romans had that New
All
Year.
kinds of New Year's.
Yeah. A lot of people had
Ridge.
the March 1st date.
Lunar New Year, March 1st, April Fools.
Middle Earth.
Just kidding.
Middle Earth was March the New Year's because that's when they beat Sauron. All right. Yeah, so what do we say to the good people, Sharon?
Blue Kachina says, so there's one Judas. We don't know who he is. I'm just saying, we don't know who he is, but there's one in here.
There's
Just
one.
kidding.
But Judas was the man who let it all happen. If it wasn't for Judas, not you, Blue, but the Christian savior wouldn't have been crucified. So if you're a Christian, thank Judas. Thank you, Judas.
Stop shooting Judas.
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever saw that the Terminator version of I forgot what it's called, but it was silly. It was like a skit about the Terminator coming.
Well, it goes back
Jesus.
in time.
Yeah, it goes back in time and tries to save Jesus from Judas. So he keeps shooting Judas, and Jesus keeps reviving him.
He's
Stop killing Judas.
Go forward of like 2,000 years and go kill baby Hitler. No.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So what do we say?
Oh, yeah. What do we say to good people, Sharon?
That once you start over Sharon,
then you totally stop being a Karen.
That's right.
And remember, everybody, we're not trying to tell you how to live,
but maybe how to live a little bit more wisely? Could it be?
Could it be? All right, everybody. Until next week, keep over Sharon, and we'll see you soon. Take care.
Bye.
Bye. And we're done.